Day 2.
Yep. Well,
Or day question mark. We don't know when these are coming out of our Game of the Year coverage here at Waypoint Radio.
Second day of Game of the Year.
yeah, that's true. It's the second part of Game of the Year discussion.
That's true, no matter what.
Yep.
Let's go back to lists. Let's go back to... I know you still have your calendar in front of you.
Yeah.
But I want to know, is there anything else that like is a big one that we haven't hit yet that maybe hits a couple of us in the room?
Like in the early part of the year?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to look through.
Are you still? You're just still going through by?
Well, I have my list is chronological in the sense that that's how I've added them. There's not really one on here that
because there was a bit of a. We were kind of all
Rage
doing
2,
our own thing.
Yeah, like there's a long time before.
Yeah, like, let's be clear. We're not going after every release. We're not talking about every release because otherwise we would have to talk about Rage 2 being disappointing. We would have to talk about
on this list. It seems like it goes not until like Control.
None of us talked about Division 2.
No,
none of. Or I'm guessing it's not on.
Devil May Cry 5, a
list.
game I fucking loved, is great. Will be on my top 10. Go play Devil May Cry 5.
But we're not going to talk about it.
No.
Okay.
Life is Strange 2. Which
Did y'all finish that?
No, I have to watch 4. I have to play episodes 4 and 5 because I'm interviewing the creators next Wednesday.
Ooh,
so
you better get on it.
But I really liked it. Gita Jackson Kotaku wrote a piece saying it like totally fucking sticks the landing. It's incredible.
I'm glad.
And I told her recently that it's like, hey, I have to play 4 and 5 real quick because I got to interview them on Wednesday. She's like, good fucking luck. Like,
Oh boy.
So I have fun with that.
Oh, great.
So
Generation Zero, I think Kato, Rob, and I had one really nice night with that game.
that was fun.
And then
That may have been all that game we had.
Yeah.
Was-
It was a first-person shooter post-apocalyptic, very
Fight
Simon
those
Stallhog,
robots.
fight some robots, etc. Yeah, I'm looking at this list. You know what was great this year? Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen on Nintendo Switch.
yeah, one of mine like Cuphead. That was a great game.
Right,
Like,
like, this
fucked
is
up
the
art, but
thing.
like loved playing that game.
Yeah, this is the thing that's like I can't put Dark Arisen on my. I could on my personal list. I could. I did play that game again.
That's like a number 10 slot. I'm like,
it
hey,
would
what's up?
be, but like that feels like a. I'm
Or
gonna add
10
it-
plus. I did that one last
a 10
year. It's a 10
plus.
plus. It's like, hey, I just want to talk about this for a paragraph.
Yeah. A week or a year where I didn't have things I wanted to reward, I would probably put it on.
Came out late enough last year that I'm more considering it for this year. Mutant Year Zero.
Mutant Year Zero,
Great game.
Great game.
That was on my
You
list
only
last
played
year.
it this year,
That was
right?
my like December marathon.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I started it
You
and was
did
like,
that.
oh shit, I need to finish this because I think I love it. And the game falls apart in a lot way that a lot of those games do, in that you can min max it and then you're just stomping through the rest. But in the world is sort of But I don't know. There was enough there.
Yeah.
And I fell so hard for like the main set of characters.
Yeah.
And I didn't play the expansion.
No, I heard it was good though.
Yeah, I think it added a moose.
I do love Moose.
Yeah.
The Switch version came out, so you're good.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Done.
Total War 3 Kingdoms was a spring game.
I'm actually surprised you brought that up before another strategy game that came out this year. There's Imperator Rome.
Yeah. It
Okay.
came out.
Gonna keep on moving. Really?
No, I mean, no, it's.
It's not there yet, or is it not gonna be there for you?
I'm not sure it's going to be there.
Okay.
They have overhauled it. Like they just launched a patch that like the game design now is profoundly different than it was when it launched. You would hear our interview with Johan Anderson about like what went wrong with Rome. It is a considerably tighter game now. They've made more resources like shared, so you have slightly harder choices to make, and you're not just like always you can just buy whatever you want depending on these buckets. Like it's gotten a little bit more refined in terms of the dilemmas it poses for you. I'm still just not convinced that I'm not sold yet that it's like a great Paradox game.
Yeah.
It might just be the game where the Paradox template doesn't quite, or the different templates they're playing around with here don't completely mesh. Where it's a little bit Crusader Kings, it's a little bit Europa Universalis.
Right, it doesn't quite do it. I'll just note really quick, and we should probably at some point in the new year do a looking forward conversation, but I'm very excited for the Stellaris expansion that's coming that I think will add some more stuff I like. Total War 3 Kingdoms. I played through one campaign, South Sao, which I liked, but this is a weird year for me in strategy games because there's a bunch of them on the table, and also things like strategy adjacent. So Total War 3 Kingdoms, Imperator Rome, the Phoenix Point, the tactics game that just came out. I don't know that I'm gonna have to find time to put into it. A game that you and I actually streamed once, but actually came out this year. That is like strategy RPG, Star Traders Frontiers, came out this year and seems really good and really janky in a way that I like, and really like not janky, but very like particular and almost outsider art-y in terms of the way. Have not found time to put into it, and I think, I can speak to that being a reflection of where my mind is at, and like the type of intensity that we talked about in yesterday's episode that Sekiro demanded. 7 minutes of super intense like focus I had in me. 4 hours of that kind of like mid-tier super focus I didn't have in me this year. But what I played of Three Kingdoms seemed really good. Rob, are you like, how hot on it are you now months past?
So it's a strange thing. Like it rates very highly with me.
Okay.
Like I think this is probably in my top 5 of the year. But what's weird is that I think I'm at a point now with Total War where it's much harder now to get me like truly over the moon, like enamored of Total War, because I've seen a lot of these tricks before. Three Kingdoms adds a lot of new ones and does a lot of really smart things. The biggest stroke of genius they had was making it impossible to just build armies to the same template. The fact that unit recruitment is tied to specific generals, and so you can't, like, you need a certain type of general to lead certain types of troops, and they have to be a certain level to recruit from higher tiers of those troops, really does make it so that if you have, like, an elite general with an elite core of troops around them, that character punches so much harder than even two characters of a similar, you know what I mean? Like, that is really smart, but also it forces you into the way you compose the armies of three generals with these different mixes of units.
Because they're each different, they're roles for each general, right?
And they exclude.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you can always field the bottom tier of, like, the different unit classes. So, like, you can always field, like, peasant archers. But you actually need a commander figure who's more like command and control type, like defense, area denial, stuff like that. That is the only unit. That's the only type of commander who can recruit the really advanced archery units. And so you will have, and this just doesn't happen in other Total War games.
Right.
You will fight battles where it's like, I basically don't have archers. I've got a few, but like, I'm mostly going to try to win this thing with spearmen and cavalry.
I'm going to close distance. I'm going to flank from the sides with the cavalry. I'll do some some charges or whatever. I will say that from my time with the game, the thing that I liked the most about it was the way in which I was thinking about characters as if they were tactics game characters and leveling them up in that way and building resources in that way versus kind of, templated, basically a general with a name, it was really cool to feel. And the other thing that happened is, like, obviously for me as someone who loves the Three Kingdoms era, who has played a lot of Romance of Three Kingdoms games, who's played a lot of Dynasty Warriors, it is just dope when someone shows up and I go like, that is Guan Yu. That is the god of war. He is here to fuck up everybody. And he does. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I have to adjust my strategy because this person is in this battle. That's a fantastic feeling.
One of my moments of the year is going to be when I put my men against that cliff face, and I was like, "You're gonna fight Lubu.
Yeah,
you are going to want to run. You can't. You have to hold. Like, you are going to fight here, and you're gonna die.
Hold the line.
Yeah, and it turned into exactly that kind of like meat grinder of like, he might kill every single one of those guys. And my reinforcement army is trying to carve through his allies to get to him and like attack from behind. And so it just turned to this race of like, he is cutting his way through an entire army by himself with his like picked bodyguard. And then I've got my army desperately trying to save these poor bastards on this snow-covered cliff, carving their way through an army. And it's one of those things where at the end of the battle, it's just like, another important thing Total War games need to do is you need to have a carpet of dead at the end of a Total War battle that tells a story.
Right.
Like, you can see where the fighting was fiercest. And this game nails that, where you see like where it's almost like ranks of the dead piled up still in formation, and then the trail as the fight like ranged. This game's really good at that stuff, and I think everything about it's tough to go completely gaga for refinement. And so much of Three Kingdoms feels exquisitely refined that for me, as someone who loves Total War, I look at it and I'm like, this is maybe some of the best work the series has ever done.
Right.
I see all the things they've improved here. It is still very much a Total War game. That's why it doesn't rate higher. But nevertheless, like I think in 5 years, I will still be regularly returning to Three Kingdoms.
In a way that you wouldn't do to Empire or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, on my list of things I wish I had more time for this year, and wish I'd just been in a different headspace for it. You know how that stuff goes. Another game from May that I know you were really high on, Rob, A Plague Tale: Innocence. How are you feeling about that again 8 months later?
Well, I think it was more Patrick's jam.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love that game.
You and I saw that game last year. That's why I'm confusing it.
Yeah, no.
We saw it at
like, those
E3.
rats.
We thought the rats looked good.
Yeah, rats are gross.
Is Plague Tale in the conversation for you?
Yeah, it's definitely probably like lower top 10, but
Yeah.
like it's a gorgeous game. The characters are like the
Add
dynamic
it
of the
to
brother.
Game Pass, you cowards.
It should be on Game.
Is it not on?
No, it's not on Game Pass.
Really? It should
I
be.
feel
They
like
have
it
a-
just got announced.
Oh, please. I hope so. But they had a
Yeah.
free trial, and I was like, I bet that's a demo. I don't want a free trial. Give me the game.
Maybe I could have
Maybe we're
sworn
wrong,
it will,
yeah.
but it will be one of those. Like that is a quintessential Game Pass game, and it's actually perfect for that because it's like a 10 to 15 hour adventure. It's got this like the character dynamic is like the brother and sister is really good. The world is interesting. Like the lore is kind of whatever. It's just so gorgeous to look at. There's just enough there. Like it's not a game I'll remember fondly in 10 years.
Yeah.
But like in the moment was just like enthralled with it. And yeah, hopefully I think it did well enough. Like A Plague Tale: Innocence comes from our friends at Focus Home Interactive, my
know what?
favorite publisher. Because
Yeah,
they
man.
Vampire was one of my favorites last year. A Plague Tale: Innocence is in like that vampire mold. It is like, it's not perfect, but like, man, you took a swing, and what you're swinging at, I want. Keep hitting
Keep
it.
swinging.
Keep swinging.
They had a huge hit this year that none of us played, by the way, which is World War Z, which like blew up.
Yes,
that
completely
I don't think
blew up.
any of us
Really?
touched.
No.
Yeah, but did very well. Anyway.
Yeah, I would highly recommend people check that out, especially if it goes on Game Pass, because it is one of those perfect sort of games. And apparently did well enough that they're going to do, they said this week, either a sequel or something like in that vein. And so I'd love to see that team do something else.
Cool. So that's May. What else? I guess like this is like the weird quiet period, right? Because things get
Right, there's like Mortal Kombat 11,
Yeah,
which
which
none
I
of us
didn't-
really
you
played.
liked it. Did you not- did you do the
well,
campaign?
I've been looking for a game to play through on Stadia, and so it was going to be
Right.
that, but now actually I think it's going to be Darksiders Genesis, because I just got a code for that on Stadia. And I really liked the hour I played on PC, and then was just like, I'm going to pause this, come back, and because I really want to play through a game on Stadia just to see what it's like. The story in Mortal Kombat 11 was a lot of fun. Rage 2, SteamWorld Quest, Days Gone, what a piece of shit that
what a piece
was.
of shit that was.
I'll throw out here
Left
a game
Alive
that
also
did
bad.
ended up far down my list of best games. Like, because the way I assemble these things is I start to, I like this one more than that one, and slowly it begins to shake out into a list. A game that did ultimately make that list, even though I was a bit harsh on it and I had some real frustrations with it. The Occupation might be my interesting failure of the year.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
Sure.
At the end of the year, it is one of those games that, I have been thinking about that more than I thought I would. I wish it were better, because I think if it were a little more user-friendly, a little more refined as a play experience, it would have really popped.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it was a cool game that I put more time into than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, around that time. Similar to me for that is the game Observation, which was the sci-fi
I'm
game.
so mad I didn't get
from-
around to playing that.
From No Code, who
Yeah.
did. You have those games that like you should have put high. Like it didn't even make my top 10, but then you look back and you're like, I fucked up. That was like not only was it top 10, but like probably a top 5 game, because I still think about it. Stories Untold is just a tremendous game. Like, I've made the pitch before about that being like it takes a text adventure and like wraps it in an incredible aesthetic to enhance the writing. An Observation is you're like navigating the cameras on a space station with a rogue AI. It's just okay. But what I like about No Code as a studio is they are going out of their way to like try and tell stories in novel ways in a ways that doesn't feel like a gimmick. It feels like they're approaching this is the style we want to do. How do we tell the story most effectively that way? And so Observation really liked like that first half of it. The second half didn't do much for me, so it kind of fell a little flat. But like I love what they're doing, and if anything, it's just like go play Stories Untold. Don't play Observation. Go play Stories Untold because that's the
real good one. I have a trio here of 3 small games that won't show up on your Wikipedia list, but we definitely talked about them a little bit at least. And 2 of them definitely aren't on my list, but one of them may end up working its way back in because I thought about it for a few minutes. I was like, oh, I need to play more of that. So Baba Is You, great puzzle game, fantastic puzzle game that I put. I put 7 hours into it. That's just on Steam. I also then started over again on Switch.
How long is that game? Can't be much longer than that, huh?
I'm bad at it.
Well, I think everybody's bad.
Wait,
at
what
it.
world?
I don't remember. It's not installed on this computer, so I can't even check.
All right.
But 4 or 5. Like I played through a substantial amount.
Yeah.
Like it a lot, but it's like I respect it more than I like it. I certainly respected it more than I enjoyed it.
That I wish was like the quintessential. If I could get in a room with a bunch of people, and we could sit and like fuck with it, and people could like throw the controller around, like, all right, you go try this.
Great.
Like that would have been
fantastic.
like such a fun way to play that game.
Second one, Hypnospace Outlaw. Again, that I don't know any of us fell for.
I didn't play.
But has a lot in it that's dope. Kind of 90s inspired web policing / web conspiracy, VR, like GeoCities, bad form culture. It's very, very unique. I found the writing really inconsistent. There was stuff in that game.
This one. I remember its trailer.
Yeah, okay. It has like a again, like 90s GeoCity, bad GIF, AOL keyword search.
CompuServe.
Yes, that era of like the internet. And it's like, also, the core plot line I really enjoyed because it is fundamentally about corporate capture of the internet. Like, that is the story of that game. That is a game about the original utopian dreams, and then like the corporate realization that this is a market that we can use. We can turn this discursive space into a market, because markets are the end goal of all discursive spaces under capitalism. And that stuff worked really well. But there was stuff in the edges that was just like, I am at the end of my rope on Small Bean, Chunky Boy, like that style of Doggo's humor. And this is not that, but it's like peering in, some of it is like peering into a world of an alternate version of all that stuff. Sneck, you know what I mean? Instead of Snake, like, I can't do it anymore. It's not of our time. Like, I don't know how how are you comfortable enough in the world? And the answer is because people find comfort in different things, and this is subjective in taste and blah, blah, blah. But some of the writing was that not that style, like not word for word but that ethos of like what comedy looks like. And it grated on me pretty bad. And like, so while I was really liking the main plotline stuff and anything that, like, the main objectives put you through, a lot of the kind of like side stuff or not filler stuff, but the stuff that was in between those big beats just grated on me a lot. And I didn't end up liking it as much as I hoped I would. The third one is one that I only hit really briefly back when it first came out, but is called Objects in Space. And that is like an Elite or a Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, which also came out this year, except instead of being a game about like piloting a cool ship with a joystick and shooting down enemies, it is all operated through text interfaces and like DOS prompt looking shit. And it's like a submarine.
Kind of a Duskers thing?
It's almost like a Duskers thing, except you are just the ship. You are like walking into the ship in first person. You're walking around, or you're kind of clicking around stations in first person. And then you're going into your ship and are like, all right, this is the panel where I set my route. Here is the panel where I like move my energy around the different things. Here's where I go over and repair my engines if they get busted. And it's so tactile, and it feels like a submarine more than a spaceship in the sci-fi setting. And I was just actually really enamored with this game. And again, with the plot, it's a little Outer Worldsy in terms of the plot. You were part of a mission being sent to a utopian space, colony, and you fuck up your jump and you wind up there 70 years after everybody. And everything has become a kind of fractured, terrible space dystopia. and now you got to like figure out a way to make your life there. And there's some really great writing where you're like meeting old friends of yours who are now 90 or whatever, and like, oh wow, this is weird. Like we lived a whole life. Like whatever happened to Jim, you know? and it's like surprisingly a great vector for some sci-fi storytelling and some like interesting character work, given that it's also a game that's like, all right, how fast am I going? How do I, a little bit of like the EVE Online thing of like, this is not a game about like juking with your joystick. It's a game about like finding the right heading to avoid the pirate who's trying to like intercept you.
Right.
And that game was really fantastic. So I just wanted to shout that out. I that is one of the ones that's like, I'm going to put time into it and see if it breaks, if it can steal my number 10, you know? And also just, I like to spend some time with games that aren't just like, aren't on the IGN release list, you know? No offense to IGN, whose release list we use at least once a year.
Crackdown 3, that came out this year.
That came out this year. Game Pass.
Yeah.
Oh, real
Good
quick,
Game Pass game.
Outer Wilds is on Game Pass. Please go play it.
Outer Wild and Outer World.
Both on Game Pass.
So even if you get confused, you'll play one of them.
You'll play one of them. What else? I didn't get around. I didn't play more Judgment. I wanted to play more Judgment. I really liked a little game called Hardcore Mecha that might make my list. Kind of a 2D action brawler with really great, like really understands mech action as like a set of tropes and genre conventions. It was sort of like there was a Super Nintendo game where you got into mechs and fought, like a heavy metal maybe. It's like a side-scrolling mech action game on the Super Nintendo, and this was like a follow-up to that, which was cool.
But yeah, my version of that is probably Gato Roboto. That came out in the summer
cool.
sometime. It's just a Metroid, but you're a cat that gets into
and a robot.
robots.
Yeah.
And it was really short. Like it's even if you 100% it, I think I did like really close to 100%, and it was still only like 4 or 5 hours. I love that. So it was just like giving you what you normally get out of like a 15 or 20 hour experience, just fucking compacted into this tiny little thing, and doesn't outstay its welcome. It's sharp, funny writing, like really satisfying exploration and combat. Like if you somehow missed over that one, it's on everything. Like it's on Switch and Gato Roboto. That's like a quintessential like number 10. It's like I just fucking loved this game.
I just love it. I just want to sneak it on there. Did any of us stick with the sinking city?
No,
none of us.
No, I actually ended up running away because
is that what you call hitting go to recycle bin?
There's so much, like everything is like the sinking city's so big. It's so big.
Yeah, when I saw like, oh, this is just a district inside of this thing that's way bigger, I'm good.
Yeah, and like it's one of those. If I had enough time, that might be fun. But also, I don't know that what I saw was compelling enough. Like
that was my bit. Was like I was excited for it because I played whatever Cthulhu game came out.
The other Call of
last
Cthulhu
year.
game
Was that this year?
That was Focus Home.
Yeah,
the first person one.
Yeah, and that was just it was nothing special. But I was hoping this would be like even if it wasn't like a profound engagement with Lovecraft as an author, at least like an interesting world. It just didn't seem like it was any of those things.
I think there's something else too, which is that I did not find a lot of the investigation stuff that I encountered very compelling. And I think Frogwares has done some effective like mystery building before in the Sherlock Holmes series. I think they've gotten less effective at that as time has gone on, and they've made more of a play for like mainstream acceptance. But I just didn't find like mysteries have to keep you hooked. You have to be like the trail of clues is satisfying. I wondered like questioning motivations. Everything seemed kind of obvious and just kind of out there. Like, oh, that big gorilla, he looks respectable, but he's like a bad mafioso. Got it. Like I'm pretty sure I know what his deal is going to be throughout this fucking story. And then like
which again, part of this is just to because someone could be listening is like, you don't understand it at all. And maybe that's true, but you need an effective mystery communicates that I don't know it at all. It communicates there might be something somewhere in the scheme there's something I don't know. And it really did just feel like it was going to read me a list of things I would know. Do you know what I mean?
And then, I think this just clicked for me. The other part of this crime scene reconstruction and following the trail of events and chasing like these ghosts of like what happened. I played Obra Dinn last year. And like I have played the try to reconstruct from contextual cues what the fuck happened in a given space. Here we have arguably tools that should create even more interesting opportunities. Interviews with witnesses, environmental storytelling. There should be lots of space to create, like, what the fuck?
You also played Detective.
Yeah.
The board game this year, which, again, similarly, if you want to feel like my favorite thing in Sinking City was like going to the newspaper archive and searching through that stuff. And it's like Detective already kind of hits that note for me in a way. In the same way like the Sherlock Holmes consulting detective board game does. And it's like I have other sources that hit that stuff better, at which point I then need Sinking City to do other stuff really well, whether that is
like
action,
bad shooting,
which it does not do well, or the Lovecraft stuff, which like, you know, you can go read Matthew Galt's piece and go back and listen to episodes where Danielle talked about it. Like there's some stuff there that feels like a sort of critical engagement, but nothing there blew me away.
But even if you were to, it sounds like even if you were to remove all that and they were like, we're just going to take the fucked up imagery, it doesn't sound like it even does anything particularly.
Not that I've seen. Right. Again, maybe the final act. I don't know because it didn't keep me hooked long enough.
Yeah.
Also in June, two big ones.
Yep.
Well, two big ones: Super Mario Maker 2 and F1 2019. Are you F1?
It's on my list.
It's on your list.
Yeah,
all right.
off.
Hell yeah. Listen, I'm going to give it love. Listen, if you like it, you like it.
Again, like I was actually a little surprised it rated like after F1 2018, which also made my last. I think it made my list last year. I was in a place where I thought the series seems like it's, you know what I mean? It's like got one of those. It's arrived at a state now where yearly iteration is probably not going to surprise me much, right? But the improvements to the driver AI in F1 2019 were like, oh shit, like this is some of the best racing I've ever had. Like,
what was the thing you wrote about? Because there was like the bit about, I can't remember the thing that stood out about the AI or.
Oh, just that it is like vicious and willing to take you out. Like,
right.
They're
like, more aggressive.
Right. And that's a tough balance for a lot of racing games because it's not fun. It's fun if you are smashing people out of the way.
Right.
Yeah.
But like if the AI drives like that, you feel like they're just fucking up your race. And like you're like, I had a good lap going, and this asshole just piled into me. And so I think a lot of racing games are really ginger about having AI get kind of willing to throw an elbow, right? Because if you don't get the balance right, or it feels like it's just being an asshole and not being tactical, it also doesn't feel right.
If it's just rubber banding to try and cause some chaos.
Yeah. Here, they basically nailed that. Like, the AI will make really cold-blooded moves to, like, you will be like, okay, I'm just going to box you out of this corner and slowly cut wide, and you're just going to have to brake to avoid a collision, and you're an AI, so you're going to do that because the AI, its first law is not just smash into the player. Here, like, if it's for an important position and you start doing that, there's a good chance the AI is going to be like, all right, let's touch rubber. Let's go. And, you know, next thing you know, you hear like a thud and the track is spinning around you and that guy's gone.
Hell yeah.
And like this game is full of shit like that. And there will be long sequences where it's lap after lap of just going like, you know, head to head as you jockey for these positions. At any moment, like one of these mistakes could just take you out. So it ended up back on my list because they kind of got the car models and the simulation of the sport in a good place. And then they made it feel like, oh shit, I'm out there with like real racers.
Right. That sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds. I'm happy that it worked out that way. I've definitely gone through the thing before of a yearly franchise where it's like, wow, this year's really good, and then the next year hits and like, ooh, they really could only go down from here. So you know what? Here's hoping F1 2020 figures out another angle to continue to improve.
Well, that's going to be new generation, right?
Oh, I guess it would. Well, I guess probably or cross gen.
And I will just say, Codemasters does not have a great history of handling that generational shift well. Though they just acquired the Project Car studio.
Oh, great studio.
And I was talking about this.
They still making a VR headset?
Remember console. That? They're making a console, the Mad Box or whatever. Slightly Mad Studios.
I remember saying,
Box.
Slightly Mad indeed.
Yeah. So Slightly Mad have been a great sim racing studio. I think we both loved Project Cars.
Project Cars is great.
Shift Unleashed was really good. They made the best. They developed for the publisher Simbin. They developed the race series and the GTR series. But point is, them getting acquired makes me nervous because like, what does Codemasters want to do with them, right? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes an acquisition is you have some tech I want,
Or some talent.
and it's
go
or
work.
both.
Go work on F1.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 people I want, and there's some tools,
Right.
And I don't care about the type of games you make, and that scares me. My real hope is that this is Codemasters being like, it would be good to have someone lead on even more simulational type stuff. So fingers crossed that is the case.
Also,
and maybe
we see you running your studio into the ground with things like VR projects.
Bad news.
Maybe what?
The Madbox 4K console is probably dead. Says tweaktown.com.
That I'm sure that website has been around since the 90s alongside like Tom's Hardware, Voodoo Extreme.
All those. I'm so
Hey,
certain.
VE3D.net, man. I've visited
Oh my
Voodoo
God.
Extreme
Oh my
all the
God, I
time.
love
What was
it.
the other one? Evil
Oh, fuck.
not Evil Empire. Was it Evil Empire?
I thought it was Evil Empire.
It was a
thought it
red
was
red themed. It was in the era of Voodoo Extreme
Yeah.
and Blues News.
Yeah. Oh,
Evil
Blues
Avatar.
News. Evil Avatar.
Yeah.
Evil Avatar.
If I remember correctly, that dude turned into like
Oh,
a
yeah?
gator.
Oh, yeah. Evil Avatar did?
Oh shit! No way.
I believe. Like I don't wanna
Hardcore PC gaming enthusiast.
Yeah, I don't
got,
I'm kind of spitballing a little bit here, but I remember one time visiting there and getting a bad vibe. If I was totally off base, I apologize.
Well, like edgelord shit was like part and parcel
Yes.
of like the '90s PC space
Yes.
too.
Yes.
So it was weird, but yeah, I'm super bummed the Madbox isn't going to be a reality. I was really looking forward to a 120 FPS 4K seamless
Cars,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was going to be that was going to be it.
Wait, speaking of 4K things, this is going up in weeks, so who the fuck cares? But Vanquish and Bayonetta coming to Xbox One X with
really?
apparently with 4K graphics and 60 frames a second on the One X. So
Ooh,
yeah,
Vanquish is a great game.
Vanquish was.
I didn't mean to play that on PC.
I need to replay it. I need to critically
That game is
reevaluate it. But I remember liking it a lot.
Yes. I bet a bunch of the gameplay holds up, but who knows about the story.
That's my guess. Yeah, exactly.
You can smoke in that game.
You can smoke in that game and
Smoke
throw
button.
a cigarette in the air, and then a robot shoots it because it's a sense of heat, or it's a source of heat.
Nintendo Vanquish 2, come on.
Nintendo, Mario Maker, Super Mario Maker 2. Where are you at with it? Is it hitting your list?
So as we record this, I have my Switch Lite with the update.
Yeah.
The big update came out, in which they're adding Link and adding like sort of like transformative game mechanics to the experience. Yeah, I mean, I stand by my review, which was like, this is an excellent sequel, which is really actually more just like a 1.5 in which they put Mario Maker on a box that people are actually own.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like a true, like, what would a Mario Maker 2 be? Like, what would the next step of that be? So I actually think it would end up pretty low on my list. It would probably make the list just because like I've had so much fun playing it. Like more of that was on a certain level enough. But as I wrote in a piece on the site was that this idea of adding Link, the notion that you could start adding other characters,
Other
like,
verbs for the
other
player to
verbs,
use.
like that's Mario Maker 2 did not get enough of that.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
The idea that they could do that through something like adding Link or Mega Man or Sonic or whatever direction they went, like if they used this as like Mario mechanics as a foundation to like add all these different verbs which they use through their popular characters. Like there's a reason Nintendo is uniquely suited to do this is because as like a gaming culture, we understand their verbs.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Someone could go make Super Mario. Like people have made better Mario Makers and put them out on PC. It's a better level editor with more tools, with ghosts, with all the shit you want. But no one wants to fucking play it because the physics aren't Mario. It's not Goombas, and like there's just something. There's universality to Mario Maker which makes it successful because of that universality. And so a Super Nintendo Maker that like used that shared verb knowledge and expand what that is. Like if
That'd
the
be
Link
great.
stuff is really cool, I could see it shooting up just on sheer potential of like what it could be in the future. But as it stands, it's fairly low. It's like, yeah, this is another good one of those, but I'm like really disappointed in their handling of the community and treating it as a game as a service. But if you look optimistically, maybe this 2.0 update is like, cool, we have now laid the foundation for what we're going to build on going forward. And every couple of months, if there was a new character, but if this is all there is, and then the game just sort of withers off from there, we're waiting for Mario Maker 3 before they add 6 characters or something, that would be disappointing.
Yeah, that would be disappointing. All I know is James Tarr, who made that really good, like 20 or 999,
Yes.
9 keys, 9 doors,
Yes.
9 seconds.
Yes.
Level that you really liked. Posted his first Link level yesterday.
Oh, good. I'm
Yeah.
very excited
I
to
saw
play
it
those.
go up
I
on
didn't have a chance to check out
Twitter.
the update this morning when I got out of bed, but I'm excited to
Very
check out and
excited to
see
see it.
what it is. Because I just, I don't know what people are going to do.
That's exactly
right.
it.
It's like that's.
Right.
It's like there's going to
I
be a
need
period for the next 2 weeks of people who make great levels just still being like, how do I do what does a great? That's the other thing that's going to be wild.
No,
Is like
right.
some of the people who make good Mario levels might not make great Link levels. And people who like couldn't quite figure out a great Mario level that's about like speed and timing and jumping could come up with really.
It doesn't
great,
have to be about jumping anymore.
Exactly, which is really exciting. So I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I'll be curious. It gives me optimism for the future, but like, yeah, Nintendo gets an F for community support post launch. So, still really. I mean, Mario Maker remains a crowning sort of like design achievement. Like,
Yeah,
that's
of course.
actually like a lot of what I gave a pass on in Mario Maker 2 is just like it's still fucking amazing that they made what they did. Like, it sounds like it should be in your head. Just let us make Mario Maker like Mario levels. Like, and that's actually a lot harder to do as easy as they did.
Yeah.
Where anybody can sit down and screw with it. So like on that level, it's still a really remarkable act of creation on their part. But yeah, hopefully there's more to come.
July kicks off with Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, a game I
Dan
haven't
Rackett,
played.
you coward, make some levels.
Oh, Dan Rackett should make some levels.
He turned into a nice guy.
That's weird.
It's infuriating.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was like, I'm going to make levels that people enjoy. Fuck off.
Don't worry. I know like some 9-year-old girls stepped up to.
That was fake, though.
Yeah.
Wait, was it fake?
The final twist was that it turned out to be
the-
he enlisted a friend of his daughter to be. It was good. Like that's
Okay.
I accept. It was a really fun, difficult level to play.
It was a great level. That
and
level was
I
fantastic.
enjoyed the
final twist.
the framing and the final twist. As I mean, I sort of knew all along, but I was willing to go
that's
along
how
with
this,
it.
Yeah, totally. Final Fantasy 14. I'm just going to briefly say I don't know if it's on my list yet.
You're gonna get right up to the edge of the stuff
We
that's
really
supposed
are.
to convince you.
I'm there right now. Like I'm in
Right.
255. I'm in the final step.
telling us about it at
before
lunch.
Heaven's Word. I was telling you about it at lunch. And so really going to depend on this next couple of weeks before I have to write this list properly, whether or not it breaks
2020's 2017 Game of the Year, Austin Walker. You'll be writing about it
or I might
next
hate
December.
it. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm like so hot and cold on it all the time. Where like sometimes literally within a 2 or 3 day period, I'll be like, wow, this is incredible. I'm so glad I put all this time in. And other times I'm like, I could have finished 3 other games on this list that I didn't because I was playing.
Think of
this
that
fucking
scenario
game.
writer to work on the next mainline Final Fantasy,
Right?
Please,
Totally. Right? That would be great. We'll see. Because that's the thing, right? The thing I keep coming back to is
I want all this story time that people are talking about and put it in a different fucking game.
right. Well, like the thing that I was saying
don't wanna
before
play an
is that
MMO.
like when I think about other games I put 100+ hours into, this I almost said century, but century, this decade. I think about things like Breath of the Wild, like Dragon Age Inquisition, games that like really took a lot of time to get through. But in those cases when I'm like, oh yeah, I put 110 hours into it, I didn't have to wait until 30 hours to get
You
one
enjoyed
good
those
thing.
first 100 hours.
And then, then there were 20 hours for another thing I liked, and then another 50 hours for another, you know what I mean? And it's just like, even if it gets really good, it has to be really good and compete with the fact that I've already put in this other.
Right.
It's
That's
not
to make
just-
up for all those other hours.
And that's going to be tough to do. We'll
Yeah.
see. It's going to be a hard thing to recommend no matter what. Even if I really love it,
right,
it'll
because
be very
so
hard
many
to
people
recommend.
experienced it as it went along,
Yeah.
in which your quote unquote wasted time investment
Yeah.
feels less precious because you were doing it every week with your friends as opposed to you marathoning it all at once, where you can look back and just be like, oh, Christ.
Yeah, exactly. Did any of us really play Void Bastards?
No. Wanted to play more. I played about 90 minutes, liked it, and then just
yeah.
didn't get back to it.
I played 3 hours and also didn't really get back to it.
I liked the world.
Yeah, me too.
I'm so hot and cold with roguelikes, where to the point where I'm often actually put off when I find out that I find not enough of them make use of the randomness or the generated worlds in a way that makes me prefer that to just an authored experience.
Yeah.
Like Spelunky, I don't want to play that. I mean, you could probably make a cool like
You
author, but
definitely
like
could,
but
but
it's
that's
not a
not
game
what
that
I
I
would
ever.
wanna-
Well, it's not a game I ever played and went, I would have preferred an authored experience. Like
Yeah.
Void Bastards, a lot of times I was like, there's got to be a way to get me random elements, but also authored level design. Like I'm playing a game. I just started playing a game on Switch called Sparklight, which is this like Zelda-ish looking game, which is also a roguelike. I get that a lot of people are describing it as like a roguelite, where it's just there's not much punishment for death and stuff like that. But still, it does mean like the maps just aren't that interesting to go around in. And I constantly found myself encountering that with a lot of games. I didn't play enough to definitively fall down there, but it's just generally speaking with a lot of roguelikes, I find myself just going, I don't feel like you're making effective use of the randomization, and I'd rather have just had a level that you thought through.
Yeah. I think even there, I might not end up. I like the world a lot. I like the writing. I like the characters. The basic action just didn't do it for me, and like
the shooting's not very satisfying.
It's just not, and that's the thing you do in the game. It isn't enough of an immersive sim to where like I'm doing a lot of other things and I can find other solutions.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I'd qualify it in that category.
No,
really,
me
it's really just shooting.
I get where that door might open, but it doesn't. It is basically shooting.
Yeah,
and I just don't like the shooting that much. The big one in July that I think we all did put time into is that, wait, am I wrong? Is that not?
Control was August, if that's where you're going to do.
No, I was going for
Fire
Emblem Three Houses, which we'll have a big spoiler cast for separately.
Yes.
But I'm curious if it's making lists. Yes? Maybe.
I severely disliked the second half of that game.
Yeah.
I just generally didn't care for I feel like that's a game that disguises like a pretty shitty plot with incredible characters.
I think you played the wrong house. which is a fault of the game.
Sure.
And we'll get into this when we do our spoiler cast. But like when
and I also think it's way too long. At least my story, like where like if what you're saying is true, the fact that I can play 70 hours or whatever it was, to come to the conclusion that maybe I would have enjoyed this story from a different angle, but I'm not going to go put another 70 hours.
The fact that you can't jump to the second half of the game, or that you can't, like, it is. I wish that there has to be another way. There's got to be a better way.
Has this ever happened to you?
Yeah, exactly. If you put 70 hours into...
I still think there's a version of you pick a path, and that game could have found ways to give you the perspectives of other things that were happening. Like, what I found so profoundly unsatisfying about the second half was the character turns that occurred. I found no justification
things
for.
Just do... To be clear, it is not... To be clear, it is not you get a different angle. Different things happen.
Well, different things happen, but also mean, like, the reason characters end up in places that they do make no sense to me from my singular perspective. And so then when I'm going up against X character, I'm like, why the fuck? What am I? Why? Like, I was like, the game doesn't give me like, hey, by the way, like, here's a little bit of what was going on, and like why there's like, the singular focus I didn't like as a storytelling structure, and I soured on that as it went along, even though. My students are precious. They are my children. And if it makes it on the list, it'll be purely on the back of that, because they nail that part of it. And I loved my house. I just like the storytelling structure just really kind of undercut it for me.
Rob.
I think it makes my list on the strength of the visual novel stuff more than
you would die for to do.
I would die for to do.
Yeah.
I would die for to do.
I might kill for Edelgard.
Oh yeah.
But
oh yeah.
It becomes so ponderous as you just scale outside the possibility of any of these levels giving you a challenge.
Yeah.
Like, it's just moving my characters forward through the level and like, all right, time to nuke that character. Like, I
switched to auto battle. I just let it just funnel through, and then in the final battle you can't do that. The final battle, well, mostly I was just so irritated at the lack of difficulty that I got myself in a position where almost all my characters died, because I was just like, I don't give a shit. Like, just fucking move them. Just move those chess pieces forward. Like, I didn't mention the difficulty on that game is just not tuned properly at all.
Now, patch just came out,
but the core thing that it doesn't let you do is make it more difficult in the middle of play.
Yeah,
you can't turn it up.
I wanted to change it to hard, and I couldn't.
And I think that
I didn't have that problem, but remember, the reason I didn't is because I purposefully handicapped myself there. I purposely started using worse characters to make sure my whole bench was leveled up all the way,
that
which
meant
meant
working for me.
I was going into battles with under leveled as best as I could, and so
I could not get under level enough. Though. I was late to recruit Cyril.
That's the thing, is I recruited as many people as I could, and everyone came in. Those late characters from the mid game forward were all 5 levels under.
I recruited no one.
Right.
I said, you don't want to be in my fucking house? Yeah. Don't come to my house.
That's the most Edelgard thing.
Yeah.
I fucking loved when I knew the time skip was coming, and I was like,
We're ruining our spoiler
Hey,
cast.
Bernie.
We are.
Have more gifts.
It is so hard for me not to just show you a cutscene right now, but we should save it.
Save it.
But
Save it.
I just think there were so many things, like all the things I loved about that game that hooked me early, eventually became negative feedback loops as the game went on, where I was like, I don't like the battles anymore. And they're just
And there's so
slowing this
many
down.
of them.
And so many and they are tied to side plots.
Right.
So I stopped enjoying the side plots as much. And then I was like thinking about I could fire that up.
You didn't
and
finish
it's
it,
gonna
right?
be- what?
You didn't finish it, did you?
No, I'm in like the very last last sprint.
I hear your blue lion. Is that right? A blue.
Yeah, Blue Lion.
I hear it wraps up bad too. So
Well, yeah, but I mean, Blue Lion's going to wrap up tragically.
no matter what.
Yeah,
you're saying.
like
yeah.
my guy is called the Boar Prince.
Right.
Like, what is the boar famous? Like,
Yeah.
like it's
Fair.
an animal renowned for running up a spear to kill the person who killed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
And yet, still probably going to make your list.
Yeah, because it does such
to do.
See, the past tense of does is dud. It does a really great job of laying out the politics of a space and the way those intersect with personal identities and
Yeah,
relationships.
it really
Yes.
does.
Yes.
And so when these characters begin to splinter and turn against each other, it doesn't feel like, oh, I could never have seen this coming. Characters' motivations may have been so obscure that there were some shocking things revealed midway through that game. But in terms of, as these characters enter a revolutionary period, these differences between them will become irreconcilable like blood feuds.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the way it goes. And it sets it up so well. And the characters are so sympathetic and so well drawn. I love all of that stuff. And so even though it kind of crumbles a little bit and turns to ash, there's so many good hours leading to the point where my fatigue.
And you're right that like I would have preferred to have having played it, a game was if I could have just turned off the fights.
Right.
At a certain point, I
Or
would literally,
skip them,
if I
or,
literally
like-
could have just said, I don't need to do the fights anymore.
Let me just play this as a visual
I just
novel.
want a story mode.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm saying that because as someone who I like, I like Fire Emblem's fights. It's just they stopped clicking for me and got too easy. Maybe that was different if I had to like really think about what's going on. But I just think like if they literally made just a visual novel version of that game where you just could do the castle stuff.
I would so totally miss seeing like Lysithea float in the air and eradicate an entire like battalion of people.
Look,
because
my
she's incredible by the
bow
end.
characters in that game are my
Yeah,
favorite.
see, I think
It
that
is
was
so
part of that for me was like by the end game, my fucking not even by like the late mid game, my crew was stacked, and I never felt bored seeing Cyril lift an axe over his head or seeing Hilda lift an axe over her head and just demolish some noble asshole. Like I think my love of those characters let me persist through.
Bernadetta
some of
was
that
the
stuff.
one that like every
time.
Like
Yeah.
she always was like, who's gonna get that last shot? Bernadetta's
Bernadetta's
gonna get that last shot because I want her to just turn into a war machine.
Right.
She was like she was my little farmer boy in this game, which is like you are going from a meek, quiet person who has trouble getting out and talking to people. Be with that bow and arrow in hand, and you turn into a different person, and you are just.
I just realized someone asked a question earlier this month of us, a question bucket question, which was like, what's the game you took the most notes on recently? And it was Fire Emblem, because it was me planning out everyone's schedules, figuring out what people should specialize in, figuring out what their like lesson plans were going to be. I loved that. I know, but I loved it.
No, I hear you.
It was like because of that investment in them as individuals. Like I cannot wait until I can like bring this person up through this alternate thing that maybe what they might be meant to do, because I want to see them as a dark mage instead of as an archer. Like that stuff was really, really rewarding.
I wish the game had forced you into more hard choices with that stuff, because it did feel like if you were. I only did the side stuff. I wasn't doing like some of the grind quests that were there.
Thank God.
And it's at a certain point, like 3/4 of the game, it's like, cool, like we've basically maxed out what you can do here, like do something else. I actually wish there were harder specializations that like really leaned into certain things. Then to some degree that's there, and maybe this is just the result of there being so many missions and you just can get them so high that you don't feel like you're making those choices.
You're not supposed to get your students high.
Right. No.
Don't.
Hey, look. What's the drugs called in Fire Emblem?
Dinner.
Yeah, you know what?
Well,
yeah. Oh, that does happen though. There is literally that that thing that happens at the castle where some of your students are like sad, and Rhea is like, you should give them these magical herbs that will make them feel a little bit better.
Wow.
Very good. I just want to note, I don't think any of us played it, but it is wild to me that that game company put out a game this year that none of us played because it was a social iOS game.
I went to an E3 demo.
Did you?
Bored halfway through the E3 demo.
That's a bummer. Sky.
It's a very pretty looking game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
It didn't do any. Massively multiplayer journey sounds interesting in
Concept,
but didn't really seem to work in execution.
Wolfenstein Youngblood. Did any of you get through it?
I didn't like playing it.
You didn't like playing it. You didn't like. Did you even try it, Kato?
I didn't play it.
Oh, you didn't play it at all. Okay.
Like if I could sit down, if I like sat down, found time, like, hey Rob, let's just play through this game in an evening. Like, we're just gonna spend 6 hours.
It'd be a great stream.
We're gonna get some beer. We're just gonna plow through this. Like, yeah, if we ever did a stream, like a big long stream, I would sit there and play through that game with you.
Side note, actually, the game I most like, if we have a little time between now and the holidays, I would like for us to try the Blackout Club again.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I heard that got interesting.
Again, did you try it?
We did a stream.
We did it on election night.
Yeah, was it election night last year?
Yeah. So it was
still beta, right?
Really,
it had just hit. It
Yeah.
was just into early access.
Yeah.
But it's an ongoing story,
and
like so new stuff is coming out. It looks like it could be cool. Like I am curious how that has come together. But I think to that point, I think that night of hell yeah, let's play Wolfenstein together.
Well, because the story, there's not much of a story to it, but there's enough there, and I like the game. The gunplay of Wolfenstein is good enough. Like I know some people don't like how that game feels, but I've liked how Machine Games has handled that stuff. But it is like the quintessential. This is not enough as a single player game, but played with someone, you can make up for its deficiencies by just having the audience of another person. So I still like to play because I've heard like the story bits that are there, like those sisters are really fucking strong, and it's gonna suck ass if they just get wasted on this game, because the way they had molded those BJ's daughters is just like they're just really fun characters and they're a lot of fun to spend time with. I've heard this, the ending of this like directly sets up
whatever's next.
So hopefully they're just gonna be a part of that. But because they the moments you spend with them are a joy. It's just not a fun game to play.
Yeah, which is a bummer. Rob, did you end up putting more time into Age of Wonders Planetfall? Did you check out this new DLC that just
I didn't check out the DLC.
You still like the game?
I like the game. It's just, but not like...
Not on the list.
No, it didn't make the list. Like, it is good.
Should I still try to play it before I make my list?
No.
Whew. Definitive. Powerful.
Damn.
Blackout Club, overwhelmingly positive. The reviews are very positive for this game.
August game that I am furious I didn't finish playing, except I'm not that furious because I was playing with a friend and they just got busy, and I also just got busy. We just haven't had time. Is Remnant from the Ashes, a game that everyone in this room should also try.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It should be on your list of things to try in 2020.
Yes.
Like, put it for real.
I know.
Third-person shooter.
I know. Dark Souls with guns sounds great.
And, like, it's good. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's on Dark
It's on
Souls.
Game Pass.
Is it on Game Pass?
Yeah,
Fuck.
it's on
It just
Game
got
Pass.
added.
Oh, people should play that game immediately.
Well, okay, it's Dark Souls with guns, but in a different way than what we were saying
Yes.
before, which is like the Surge. And Surge 2 is actually supposed to be pretty good, but like that's all in a genre of you like Dark Souls, here it is with robots, here it is with guns.
Yeah.
Like it does its own. I know
It really does its own thing in a couple of different ways. I think like there's some really great narrative beats in terms of like surprising about how broad the aesthetic playbook is. I think that the combat is it has that Destiny thing of like it feels good to shoot a gun in this game.
It's the first game from that studio, or did they do anything?
No,
else?
you just said the name of the other. It's Gunfire Games, who just made Darksiders 3.
Right.
And this game seems way better than Darksiders 3.
Yeah, Darksiders 3 was okay.
This game is
that's
like
a decent combat.
It feels so good, and the blend of like moment to moment, do I have enough time to shoot this incoming enemy? There are added mobs who are rushing me. I'm going to dive out of the way. I'm going to try to like get that iframe from this incoming melee attack. I'm going to try to manage, what my distance is. Like that stuff that's almost like fighting game-esque in terms of like playing footsies. is in this game, but at a different range. The use of abilities is really good. It doesn't do like as in depth of item descriptions, but it does a similar thing as Dark Souls, where like items are cool. It is cool to get an item and be like, whoa, this completely changes my build,
right?
Or this like I can build towards this being the center point. That is a game that is very much fighting to be on my top 10 list because of how strong of an identity it has and how weak of an identity it should have, if that makes sense.
No,
do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
the pitch for this post-apocalyptic Dark Souls with guns is like battery acid. You know what I mean? Like it sucks. It's a terrible pitch.
Yeah.
And it does so much more with that pitch than
it should.
And that's incredible. And like hats off to them. I really hope, I mean, it seems like it found an audience. Also, I didn't even mention like it does have a proc gen world. It does have like random events that show up differently in your game than my game,
right?
And like opportunities for you to find out more lore, different lore than I.
That's
hit.
cool. That's really good use of randomization,
and
proc
especially
gen.
for a game like this, where like I'm gonna hop into your game and play through something with you, and then I'm gonna come back and play through bits on mine, and I'll have a slightly different environment. Or the old Diablo 2 thing of like, how many times did I play through fucking Diablo 2 when that came out, and just re-roll the map and just re-go through it again and again and again. This feels like a more modern take on the like, oh, which events, which quest did I get this time? Which event did I hit this time? Okay, cool. I know how to do this. And that stuff is just like it is going to be a game that I think hopefully
I bet that gains like a really strong audience over time, and then the sequel comes out and people are like, holy shit, you know, so like that sort of happened in Demon Souls to Dark.
Exactly. It happens a lot. This thing of like, oh wow, this game is really good, and then they find that wider audience at the sequel. So but shout outs to them. We'll see if it hits the list. I'm not 100% sure if it will or not, but we'll see. Any other games from this like summer period?
Control. That was August,
Control
right?
was a big one.
Late August.
Was it that long ago?
This hit me today. It is set for August 27th.
Yeah.
Kato told me this morning, or it came up in conversation, and I was like, "Holy shit, that was in August."
That feels like it was like a month ago.
Yeah, well, I think that talks to a little bit to its staying power in the discourse. Like people have continued to think about Control as one of the biggest games of the year, the biggest surprises of the year. Again, 5 months off, y'all are still.
Yeah, it's a game
on
that's
the
like
list.
Stuck in my head. Like I think about the oldest house all the time. Like this
is the game I most want to finish.
I stopped playing that game because Destiny happened.
Yeah.
And then Pokemon happened.
Sure.
And now that's the one I'm coming back to.
Right.
There's other things like Death Stranding's out there, Jedi Fallen Order's
and also
out there.
Control.
I'm playing Control tonight.
Well, and also Control you can like reasonably finish, right? It's
Right,
like
that's the other thing.
15-hour,
For sure.
less than 15-hour game. But it's just its world.
Yeah.
Like fucking like its combat is fine. Like it's okay. It's not
Oh no,
bad.
I will argue like I think Remedy games have a very particular feel for movement and combat. They make the best pistol games ever made. Like Max Payne, not all the weapons are winners, but
Pistols
Max Payne
are.
running around pistols is fucking great. You know what Control is mostly about?
Pistols.
He's running around with a psi pistol. Like,
Especially-
you got your nines out. They got to recharge
Yeah.
after 14 shots or something.
Rob, I didn't find several of the main powers in this game Zachney and still finished it.
You know what? I was a levitating god with like with a pistol.
No, it's like it is a weird part of the game that you can not by choice but by accident miss some of the major powers, which I do not think was intended design. I think that is you were supposed to find all those powers, but if you just
I was really underwhelmed by the safe though. The barrier thing, like I was like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
yeah, this actually would have been really useful for some fights, but like. It's weird. So, like, I think the other weird part is some of the objects of power you find them. It's like a whole big event that you're going through. The barrier is like just run through this course and then run up to the safe and
Block
grab
these
your
sniper
fucking
shots.
blocker.
Yeah. I probably still have I do have the bulk of that game still. I'm after the safe. I'm at like the third real area of that game, I want to say. Like, so after the generator, like the kind of first big true area, there's another area after that, and that's where I am. I don't remember where it is. I still have a lot left.
It's the GAC. Oh god, just clear out the
Yeah.
Oh my god.
the janitor. Ati.
Ati's
What a
king.
Adi is great.
yeah, and if this ends up as it seems going to deliver on a pseudo Alan Wake sequel is just like What a wonderful thing.
I'm so curious. I
to be
rewatched.
blessed with.
I watched my friends Jack and KB play through all of Alan Wake this fall.
I understand that game holds up reasonably well.
There are bits that don't, but there is like a core to it that I still think.
Yeah, like enough of it in a Max Payne sort of way that like you can still go back and like it doesn't completely fall apart.
Alan Wake as a character kind of falls apart.
Sure.
But like it just changes the way you read that game to be like, this fucking schmuck.
What was the
narcissist?
Who wrote the Alan Wake is a game by someone who's read all of Stephen King's books except On Writing. I don't know who wrote that. It was just the most devastating.
That's very good. God. Let me actually, really quick, I want to shout out a tabletop game that I think people who like Control should check out called Anomaly. You can just do a search on itch.io for Anomaly. It's by Sniper Serpent, who I guess disclosure is a mod in the Friends of the Table Discord. And that is like a game about being like the Bureau of Control or the SCP Foundation or like, and it just like, it uses a tarot deck to kind of prompt like storytelling sequences where you're like, all right, you define like an object of power. The game starts with you being like, all right, figure out where you are in the world. Like, are you with the Bureau of Control? Are you with the SCP Foundation? Are you with the X-Files crew? Whatever it is, and then describe an object. And you only know a little bit about it. All you need to know is like, hey, I found an alarm clock, and it has 13-hour faces, 13 numbers on it, and when it hits 13, something weird happens. And then as you play the tarot cards, it says like, someone goes missing. Describe what happens, and it's like really fun to build a mythology around one of these objects and then like close in on it. Be like, okay, does your team get wiped out? How's it end? Do you know what I mean? Right. Does the group you're with decide like, oh, we can actually use this and take advantage of it? Or is it too scary? Do you have to put it in a black box in the Indiana Jones vault somewhere? Really, really cool, called Anomaly. And I hope it finds an audience because it's a tiny game and because I feel like the world wants more of this sort of storytelling right now. And coming up with that mythology is really fun.
So, two of the performers were nominated for the Game Awards there. For the character Jesse Faden and Casper Darling. I forget the actors' names. Apologies there. But I think Casper Darling's really good.
Yeah,
like those videos, all those videos.
Great.
First of all, the videos are a quintessential remedy.
You mean video that just plays over and I mean like.
Oh, like the Casper Darling,
yes.
like him, yes.
Yeah.
But also the puppet shows, like the weird,
whatever kids, the
Threshold
Kids,
which is a great name.
But there's this one where the fucking Mr. Bones or Skeleton guy, who's their teacher, like Meg has failed her telekinesis exam, and he's like, "That's okay, Meg. Different brains are good at different things." And like I was like, man, I wish you'd been one of my teachers. Like, you're great.
You're a good teacher.
We just need to figure out what your brain is good for.
I wish I liked the Threshold Kids a little bit more.
I didn't until that cutscene. I was like, this is amazing. I'm gonna,
obviously I'm gonna go back and finish playing it. They obviously remember me a lot of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, which if you've not watched Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, please go watch Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, which is very much the template for Threshold Kids of like edutainment, like puppet show pushed through surreality and horror. You specifically, Patrick, I think there's like a 6-episode web series. They all have very goofy songs that are also deeply terrifying songs. Yep. It's all very good.
Oh, yeah, I've seen a video of this
one or
before.
two of those. But I actually just want to take a pause for a second and talk about Jesse Faden too, who's portrayed by Courtney Hope. I saw a version of this game, or I saw I played through a bit of the game at Judges Week this year, and I remember being like, this delivery is stilted. There's not like. Do they know that it's busted? Is this a bug? Like the timing?
I don't know that I've seen a game demo as poorly as Control. Like
so bad.
I remember I played like 90 minutes at E3, and I remember like texting Brad because I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go see Control." He's like, "How was it?" And I was like, "Start lowering your expectations."
Well, also, hold on. I remember vividly. You're like, so like. There's a janitor who like gives you a quest, and I guess so. You're on the whole demo was a side quest from the fucking janitor.
Yeah, but also the thing is, and this is still in the game, and it's frustrating. Adi does say, "Come back to me when you finish this," and you do, and he doesn't have anything, and that is like a dead end. And I think that particular thing was the thing that I was complaining about at that. But more importantly, I knew Adi felt intentional. Adi felt weird, and them doing Twin Peaks or them doing like, hey, something is. Adi seems like he knows
Adi
more
isn't Adi.
than he or is Adi, but also is Adi. Who knows what Adi is? There are some theories. But Jesse in that demo, I was like, this is not working.
Yeah.
Jesse in the full game, in the context of that character and
Totally
her history,
works. Yeah.
totally works. Incredible performance at doing something that I think is deeply difficult to do in a way that's convincing or moving, which is narrate like exposition and interiority in a monologue. Monologues are really hard to deliver in a way that doesn't feel alienating. And I think that the actress does a fantastic job. Courtney Hope does a fantastic job with her.
A lot of her flatness is also becomes funny once you realize that she's just like, what's the most imposter syndrome situation you can have? You walked into a building and everyone is like, "Oh, thank God you're here." It's like finally you're in charge. And so every scene she's like, Okay, I guess I will. And like, if you don't have the context for that, it seems like they're bad reactions. Like she's reading the script for the first time, but she is reading the script for the first time. Like,
Listen,
everyone's like, "So what do you think we should do, director?"
I will definitely sign this budget of way too much money for a 72-hour live stream. That's a thing that I'm capable of doing. Deep connections to that part of Jesse.
But also, like Matthew Peretta is the actor for Casper Darling.
Right.
Very funny. Like they're very funny videos. But the one that really did jump out at me is there's this video in his lab where he's explaining those little harnesses he's got everyone wearing. And it's where you see him starting to crack as he realizes, like, we are not going to be able to prevent what's about to happen. And so he's like, if you have one of these, you'll be safe. And if you don't, and he just sort of like gives this chuckle. He's like, "It'll be quick." And it's just that, like, it was such a a guy who realized how utterly fucked everyone is, and he's like basically building. He calls it. He's like, "These are life preservers. They are life preservers," and he knows he's not going to have enough.
Yeah, great.
What a good fucking game.
And great writing, not just in the story, but like I get annoyed trying to like collect the diaries around a game, but I couldn't have collected more optional bullshit in this game because the writing of everything was so incredibly strong. Even though it was arbitrary in the way so many games are arbitrary and how that stuff is just scattered about, I didn't care because every little mini story in that game was so much fun to unpack. And it wasn't just the Remedy cinematic universe that they're like trying to spin. It was just, they would just tell these tiny little 300-word stories about an object that was just like, your head just like delights in like the little, like they just put so much genuine effort into these little stories that also did world building without feeling like it was world building. Like it just felt like there were stories, and then but it still filled in a space of the place that you're in. And I just loved all of that stuff. There's so much that actually you miss a bunch of it. And so I remember like early on playing with Rob, like, "Did you see this? Did you see this?" And it's like, "Oh, I didn't see that." Like because you can miss just a lot
of little things. Yeah,
you can very understandably miss a great many things in Control.
Abilities. God. We should take a break.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll move from... Actually, wait, one more thing in the summer. One last thing. Patrick, did you ever finish Blair Witch?
No.
Are you gonna?
I maybe. Like, I will. Like, in the broader sense, I will. But I don't... Like, it was just okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel a strong pull to, like, finish it, like, for a top 10 sort of thing. Like, just because you pick a Blair Witch mythology game does not
Good.
mean
I'm proud of you.
It was okay. I like the mechanics didn't do anything for me, and like really like very straightforwardly, it misunderstand. I think it misunderstands what's scary about the Blair Witch, which I think is actually impossible to, or it's impossible to. What's scary about the Blair Witch movie is impossible to translate to an interactive.
I don't know if that's true because I think I
still think my idea.
What was your idea?
It was her story,
right?
But
that's
Blair
great.
Witch. We are pututting together.
You
were just given dozens of hours of footage.
I think what's that that VHS horror game that came out before our last stream, like indie, super tiny.
Yes.
Like I think that there's a way to play with videotape aesthetics that is terrifying.
Yes, I think
and that you could do it, but I almost want you would need. So the original Blair Witch movie was made by a bunch of young filmmakers, right? I think you need young, independent creators to make something like a Blair Witch game, not a studio that is like understands how to make a horror game but doesn't actually have investment in the. Where's the other half?
Yeah,
of
well, I
that
mean,
was
like I will admit that like I got a rough sense when I went to the interview with the folks, and I was like all ready to like. I like had spent like an hour like rereading like all the deep lore to be like, here we go, and I went to the interview and explained my own personal fandom, and I was like, what was like your first experience with the movie? And it's like, oh, well, we got the rights to the game, and then we watched the movie, and I was like, fuck,
that's it.
You told me everything I need to know.
I'm done. That's the interview. I mean, it happens. It does happen.
Well, no,
You're in the business. I get it.
No, 100%. It's just to say, I'm not surprised where they landed it where they did, especially given the template of the types of game that studio makes. The moment you need to use a flashlight to kill a thing, I was like, you've already kind of fucked it up. Because that's just tracking a creature is just what the Blair Witch sequel got wrong from a couple years ago. Like, it's just, there are ways to do it, I think. But it's like you need to go back and figure out the foundational element of what was scary about that movie, which is what you don't see, so that the glimpses you do see are fucking horrifying.
I do also really want the Her Story Telling Lies version of it that you pitched.
Yeah.
That's because can you imagine just typing in some word, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like typing in some word and getting like 5 answers come up, 5 things.
Please.
Right.
And then like that shot from the original movie where like Heather's speaking and she's crying into that, like you get some version of that, or you're scrubbing through and you.
Or the other one where you don't even, where you put in something you don't even mean to, like coffee. And the first one was like, oh yeah, when you're on a coffee run. And the second one was like, oh yeah, pass me the coffee. And then like some stuff happens and the camera falls over and that would be great.
Like the Blair Witch movie, the way it's structured, like the first third of it is them just walking around the town, doing a documentary, interviewing the local townsfolk. Like, fuck, throughout the Blair Witch thing, I think a horror Her Story would be just a tremendous, like, there's a lot that you could do there. Go watch the movie Unfriended. It's a horror movie from a number of years ago. There's a bad sequel called Dark Web. It's not good.
Fantastic.
But I'm sure it's good, but
no, I've not seen it.
It's a bad good.
Yeah.
Whereas Unfriended is legitimately a great horror film. It has incredible UI where it's all on a laptop and everything is communicated through the desktop, and it's scary and it's good. So yeah. Fuck it, man. I'm just give me the money to go go make this game. I'm out.
Follow your dreams.
I'm out.
We can keep. I found out how to keep doing this podcast. I found out it's doable. We'll figure it out. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the games of the fall and the early winter. BRB. I'm ready to come back in. I'm just waiting for this fucking thing to attach. It'll attach at its own speed, I guess.
What people need to do is reset era. Stop bumping the Elden Ring thread.
Is it being bumped a lot right now?
Well, it's the Game Awards, so people are just speculating.
I mean, From has done stuff there before.
Yeah, but I guess so. Keeley did an AMA and
I was like, no.
No, he said pretty much every game is new as opposed to being like
Armored
a review.
Mecha Souls.
We can't do this to ourselves. We can't. We can't do it to ourselves.
I just want it so bad now. I miss it so bad.
Can you imagine if the trailer opens as an armored core game and you're just like, all right, this is fine. This is cool. Like, I'm glad. And then just like pulls out and it's some fucking like fleshy robot monstrosity.
It would be so
and then
sick.
like a sword juts out of like the side of the.
This is the thing is like
people really made an impression on you, huh?
That's what I'm saying. Is like this is the funny thing is like Ava makes if you've seen Ava now, you can imagine how cool some of that shit would be if it was done well.
Well, I want Dead Space by way of Miyazaki.
Right,
is a little of what I
that's
think
true.
I could
that's I mean, that's the thing is like they have not done a sci-fi thing ever in terms of Miyazaki touched Armored Core, and so like that definitely he has a background and he's dealt with mechanical design.
Really really done sci-fi.
That style of stuff outside of I guess it's true. What else? I guess I haven't looked at
You know,
their
like King's Field. It's all been
I'm trying to see
fantasy stuff basically.
if there's anything else that falls into that space. And I guess not.
Other than their mecha stuff, it's
outside of their mecha stuff, and even that mecha stuff sometimes would go into a fantasy direction. They did Frame Gride for Dreamcast, a game that I imported.
That's the first time I've heard it pronounced. I've always just said frame grid, and I was like, oh, they added an E.
Yeah, maybe that might be right.
I've just never said
that
it out
might
loud.
be right. Actually,
I have no idea. I remember that game.
That was like a third-person action fantasy mech game. That was. I remember thinking it was interesting, and
I played a lot of their PS2 launch game, which is the Ring or
Elden Ring,
not Elden Ring. No, but what
Eternal
Ring?
Eternal Ring.
Yeah,
I've cracked this thing wide open. Eternal Ring
shit.
2, Elden Ring.
Damn.
Fuck.
I mean,
honestly, make a new King's Field. Let's go.
Let's go. Make Dia happy. Yeah, they've done a bunch of different mech stuff and Chrome Hounds. I mean, Chrome Hounds obviously a mech thing, but yeah, I guess they've never done. Yeah,
not in Modern From.
Not in Modern From.
Not post Demons.
No, even I'm looking at everything.
Oh, okay.
Nothing here is just like a sci-fi,
right?
Whatever that I can see. So interesting.
All right.
Anyway, we should get back to other stuff. What else is so fall? It's the fall now. The leaves are changing color. There's a crispness in the air. You've opened up a cider to drink.
I feel like we got more this year was like just summer and then it was winter.
You're right. There was no.
There really was no fall.
And you sat down to play Gears 5. No, you sat down to play Borderlands 3.
I played the first third of that.
Okay,
I liked
not
it.
on your list.
No, I don't think it would have been even if I finished it. But I liked a lot of I like Gears, and it was a good Gears. I just that's a game that at some point when I've got free time I'll get back to. Or I just got accepted to their streaming thing, xCloud.
Oh, so nice! You tried it there. That seems like a good one to try there.
Right.
Okay. What about Borderlands 3?
No.
Nothing.
Played like an hour.
Not okay. Yeah.
As Rob slowly falls asleep in his chair.
Drink more coffee, Rob.
It's too far.
It's empty. Rob presenting me this cup. God. Daemon X Machina was in September. I like that game a whole bunch. I still like it a whole bunch. In the absence of an Armored Core game, it scratched that itch.
Sure.
It is not as good as an Armored Core game.
Right.
I think it does certain things.
Well, it's also more action, less mech customization, right?
No, there's still. I will say there's not as much customization.
Well, but that is
much
Armored
breadth.
Core. Armored Core is
There's
detailed.
There is the customization here, but it's very easy to know. It's very easy to make the numbers go up in a way that Armored Core is more about making the numbers go sideways.
And also, you're making sacrifices for builds, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? And you're doing that a little bit here, but not to the degree that you are in Armored Core, where you're like, all right, I'm gonna be fast as shit. But that means
I'm gonna be a tank. Literally, I'm gonna look like a tank.
Oh, that's the other thing. Is there's only bipedal robots in Daemon X Machina. In Armored Core, it's I'm gonna have treads or forelegs or reverse jointed legs. I'm gonna have a hover bottom or whatever.
Right.
And that's a little bit more flexibility in the types of things you can build goes a long way. But I still really like it. I actually think that game has a better story than people give it credit for, and it has a fucking wild end of the game twist.
Okay, hit us.
Can I spoil it? I'm going to spoil the end of Daemon X
Go.
Machina. Really broadly, the whole premise of the game is the planet was destroyed when there was a moonfall type situation. Part of the moon crashed into the earth and revealed that there was monster enemies, robot monsters underground.
Let's go.
Right, exactly, right? Again, actually kind of a From Softy vibe. And so you are a mercenary basically who goes in to fight these drones. You're hired by these 3 different companies. The early game is just hey, we're all fighting these drones. And then eventually you're wait, my mission is to fight these drones. Your mission and protect this place. Your mission is to fight these drones and blow up this place. 2 different corporations want to do different things here. And then eventually it becomes intercorporate warfare. And then eventually it is revealed that there is this game has a fun trick, especially in the Japanese, which is there's a character who has Char Aznable's voice actor. Char is the rival in the original Gundam series.
Okay.
He is not the real Char of this game. There's another character who looks the same, who is very similar looking, and who is the real secret rival the whole time. And he is manipulating everything in order to, and I guess this is Kato, you and I are about to go see Char's counterattack. He wants to force people into the future. He wants to force people to leave behind their rotten home on the planet, which has been destroyed, and move out into space.
Okay.
Which is literally Gundam. This is literally Gundam. Here's the big
Is there like
weird...
a place to go? Where
he has seen a vision of a better place, and this is the twist.
A literal vision.
A literal. He has seen. He connected to like the big robot AI at the core of the planet, basically,
Okay.
and that thing told him, "Hey, there's another world out there for you."
Okay.
And there is.
How does the robot know that?
Because the robots put us here to begin with.
Oh.
The robots like seeded the universe. It's one of those things, or something like that. It's been a few months since I played it, but something like that.
Sure.
Is the world Earth?
The world is Earth, Kato.
Ah.
The reveal at the fucking end of the game. And it's only in one of the endings. There's an ending where you can be like, no, I think I'm gonna stay here, even though this world is destroyed. I'm gonna stay here. We're gonna try our best to rebuild it. And that ending doesn't tell you this. But if you do the ending where you like, even though I think he went about it the wrong way, I think his heart was in the right place. Fucking drop the asteroid. Let's go. We got to get off this fucking planet. It pulls up and reveals like there was another world for people to go to, and you see Earth in the distance, and you're on Mars. You've secretly been on Mars the whole time.
Oh, that's good.
It's a fucking sick, dope final, and it's really understated. It doesn't say, and you were on Mars.
You just have to put it together.
But it's a big red planet, and also it's like, oh, that's why none of this shit looked right. Like that's why it's always like a little otherworldly here.
Is it like is this like a present day Earth? Like humans are there?
No, I think this is how we got to Earth.
Oh,
we left
good.
Mars and went to Earth.
That's
it's sick.
great.
It's so good.
I want that to happen in real life.
Maybe it did.
Damn.
Maybe we don't know. Listen, the mechs are out there. See? So yeah, that game better than I think it has. The story also just has some dope characters in it. There's my favorite character. One of my favorite characters of the year is a character named Guns Empress, which is a dope name. I don't give a fuck what you say. And
take that, Kojima.
Yeah, for real. I mean, this game just has that style of naming, that very like anime Kojima or Tomino like Gundam stuff. And Guns Empress, there's a moment where she betrays you to the bad guy who wants to destroy the world and get everybody off the planet, tells her like, hey, I need your help. You're the best hacker I know. I need you to crack into the system to get me some data I need. And she's like, I'm sorry, hero character. I'm sorry, rookie, but I have to do this. You don't understand. I need to see this. And the thing that she wants is, it turns out, just like human perspectives. She wants to know what it's like to be a person, and if she's a person, because she reveals that the whole time that you've known her, she has secretly been an AI who gained sapience, but like isn't convinced that she's a person yet. And so she just wants to like check to see if the types of experiences she's had are real human experiences. She's dope. She's fantastic. That game is better than it has any right to be in terms of like that stuff. It's also goofy as fuck, and like, you know, if you don't like high anime bullshit, you're not gonna like it.
Right.
But you can hear how excited I am talking about it. I think despite it not being as good as like the best Armored Core games, it is still going to make my top 10 list probably.
Cool.
So Daemon X Machina. What else?
Let's look at my list. Ancestors. Nope.
Didn't make it? No?
No. Definitely.
Did you not get around to...
I'm glad that people didn't glom onto that game, because it means I didn't have to play it again.
Did you never try AI The Somnium Files, a game that I was really curious if you would get around to this year?
No, and I really like...
I didn't mean for that to seem so
No.
accusatory.
A lot of people I got a bunch of people bugging me to check that out, because I was a big fan of 999, VLR. Well, okay, I was a big fan of 999. I thought that series went perpetually downhill in its two sequels. I think they're good, but I felt like 999 was just such a wonderful, contained, twist-filled story. You can go play the iOS version. You can skip all the puzzles. The puzzles in those games all suck. I've never liked them, but the storytelling is tremendous. And 999 on its own is a great game. And yeah, that designer writer did a new one that I heard was good. But I just, those games are also long.
Yeah. And
I just didn't get a chance to get around to it yet. But
all right.
To.
Then the other big one, what else do you have? What's next for you?
Link's Awakening.
So before I guess same day, Link's Awakening. Let's talk about Link's Awakening.
It's good.
Yeah, Kato, I know you really liked it.
I love that game.
You think it's making your list?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm in probably. It's probably like lower, like it's like
the lower
back half.
Yeah, for sure.
But good.
Yeah, and also falls in that category of Resident Evil 2 of like the right way to do a remake. It's doesn't lose the essence of what that game was, for better and worse. Like, because I remember writing in my review, it was like a difficult game to review because I didn't play the original. Like I played all the mainline Zelda games, but never touched any of the handheld ones for whatever reason. And so it's like, well, what am I judging this game as? Am I reviewing it as someone that didn't play the original? I'm both reviewing it knowing it's a remake, but also can't forgive it because it's like, you know what I mean? They've aesthetically revitalized it, so it looks like a 2019 game, but man, it plays like a game from 1994 or whenever that came out. The dungeons are repetitive. There's like only so much, like it's, so there are parts of it that don't really work, but it's short. It's got a really sweet story. And I actually like the fact that it's short. It's like 10 hours long. Like it's just, you're in, you're out. It does its thing. It's really charming. I liked it a lot. And I thought it worked really effectively as a remake too.
Kata, you played the original, right?
Yeah.
So
I
I'm
really
curious for
enjoyed the
you as
original.
someone who, so as someone who did like the original a lot, you came to Link's Awakening, the new one, it still worked for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Insofar as that, like, I was like, the thing that bothered me the most, honestly, was the random slowdowns.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
because I already kind of knew what I was getting into with, like, how that space is laid out and stuff. And
they never patched any of that shit, which makes me think it was just
It's as good as it could
yeah,
get.
as good as it's going to get, which is
Jeez.
too bad.
Yeah, really. But yeah, I think it was, apart from that, like a pitch perfect remake of that.
And the stuff
of
they
that story
added
and,
was like a really, like the UI stuff they changed
Right,
in order
and the
to make
fact
it a
that
more accommodating game.
Yeah, you can equip more things because that makes more sense and all that. Like, that was great. Like, yeah, I don't know. I like
yeah,
it.
it's
I
good.
like
It's
it a
good.
lot.
It's
a
good.
good
Like,
fucking game.
Yeah. Awesome.
Like I haven't thought about it a lot since, but like it was really good.
Yeah.
Other game that came out same day, Untitled Goose Game.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's in my top 10.
Ooh, that's not even in this. I don't know why.
See?
I forgot to. Oh no, I played it later. I played it a couple weeks later. That's why.
It's currently in my top 10.
It's definitely gonna be in my top 10.
It is. I'm looking at my top 10, and there's a part of me wants. It's so weird because I feel like you have a top 10 list, and sometimes you start thinking like, I want to utilize my top 10 list.
Yeah, that's why I put Papers, Please as my number one game so many years ago. It was not actually like it was a performative act to make that the number one.
Sure,
game.
I don't mind pulling the curtain back on that shit sometimes. Like that is the role of a critic is very complex. It is not necessarily it is not only to reveal one's heart. It can also be to put the light on stuff that deserves it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how I got. What was it? What Mario game? Super Mario 3D.
Right.
Right. Land, World, whatever one came out that year. Alex Navarro still is mad at me because I performed a trade with Jeff Gersman to get. I can't remember what game he wanted on the list, and I said, "Okay, that goes on the list. This comes off. Papers, Please gets to number 10."
Right.
And he said yes. And Alex screamed over the phone. I was like, "You're not here in person. You have less power."
That's so funny.
It's just true. It's just hard.
It's
It's
true.
just, when you're in
you don't
a
have
group
it.
of 6 people and you're the one person with a phone, it's like, I can cut this deal. But I wanted it there because I thought it was important for it to be on Giants Bomb's list, like just as a declarative act. And then I made it, like, it would have been like number 3. Like, it was really important to me. It's not like I was taking a game that was 11 and just vaulting at 1, but I was like, I want to say it's my favorite game of the year because I admire what it was doing and what it was saying.
Yeah. I did that with the complex thing there is like I did that in 2014. My top 2 games were 80 Days and Fantasy Life, and I still love both of those games and would play another Fantasy Life in a second. If Fantasy Life 2 hit right now on Switch, I gotta go. I'm sorry. I know we were supposed to go see Char's Counterattack tonight, but I can't. I gotta play Fantasy Life 2.
Damn.
But
I gotta go do a work sim.
I gotta
instead
do
of
a work sim instead of having fun. But 80 Days is the thing that's like, even at the time, I knew it was the game I respected more and I loved more. But in that case, it was the opposite, which was like, I would rather talk about my weird vulnerability and like the fact that even though critically I don't think it's as good as 80 Days, it's what I needed was Fantasy Life in 2014. Anyway, there was another. Oh yeah, Goose Game. So Goose Game's a game where I feel like it's from such a small team. I think I wrote a very positive review of it. I stand by that review. It also got its due in a way that like I didn't expect it to, but
Yeah.
I'm happy it did.
It became a phenomenon, legitimately.
It really did. It really did. You get the Chrissy Teigen tweet, you're
Yes.
good. You know what I mean? Like that game got played a lot all over the place. And so it might not make my list because in doing it, some of the sheen wore off. Which is unfair to it. But like when it's something that I'm like, I want you to pay attention to this.
Yeah.
It becomes easy to justify that it gets in your top 10.
Especially if you're talking about like 7, 8, 9, 10.
Exactly.
You're sometimes slipping in games that are like, I want this to be here so that it's here, not because it's the Outer Wild. You know, like that doesn't happen in Outer
It is
Wilds.
hard for me to Outer Wilds is. I want to be clear. 100% both heart and mind.
Yes.
Completely ahead of everything else on my list. But so I don't know the difference between a 9 and an 8 most times. Most of the times I'm making a gut check, and any day I'd switch the 9 and the 8.
Right.
Is there an element too of you see a thing you were really into, and then everyone gets into it, and it's not that it's not special anymore, but as you see your reaction, your delight reflected now back at you from 1,000 different sources, and each time it washes the experience out a little bit, where it's like, oh, that magical like moment of discovery I had was very well tuned. Everyone is having it, and so like the experience is less personal to me now. Everyone has had that experience.
Yeah, and it's tough because it's like, you know what it's like? You come to visit me in New York, and you say, oh, you know what, I've been reading. I'd really love to go out to eat at this restaurant. And I go, we don't want to go to that restaurant. That restaurant's fine, but I can take you to the real spot. The Austin Walker list has stuff on it that you'll never find in such and such a guide, and that is part of the experience of building a top 10 list. And so like, it is true, and I might like that other restaurant. I might even want to go there with other friends from the city. But when you're here, you're only here a little bit, and so I want to take you to a different place, and that is part of it. And I think that like it is a little bit of the like seeing that same experience reflected again and again, but also I get joy every time it comes up. Like that's the thing about it. Like I don't have a backlash towards the game. When I see someone like share a clip of some shit they did of like pulling all of the signage in the game into a pit, I'm like, hell yeah, you did that. That's awesome. This game rules. So I don't know. It might end up sticking it out. It may end up staying on the list. I'm not 100% sure yet.
Good game though.
Good game. Are you putting it on?
It's on my. It's in
consideration.
It's in the 15 games that's got to be whittled down.
Yeah, Kato.
Yeah. I don't know, because I'm having the same problem where like it's probably gonna fight for a spot with Nowhere Prophet.
Right.
And nobody talked about Nowhere Prophet at all. A game that I really enjoyed.
Please
go for it.
Actually, also, yeah, that was in the summer, wasn't it? If we're going chronologically.
Yeah, please.
I forgot about
anything that we missed by mistake.
Yeah, so like Nowhere Prophet, this roguelike deck building game where the deck actually ends up being is kind of your group of followers and the people that you travel through this kind of post-apocalyptic like sand planet basically. But it had some really and here's the problem. This is why it's still in contention with like Goose Game at that to be on the list anyways. Is that some of the writing was really uneven, but ultimately by the end of my experience with it, I had a really hopeful message that I think like stuck the landing. Even though like, but the problem being that it's a roguelike. So if you do multiple runs and you don't get to the end, you might not ever hit those moments and keep getting some of the kind of more like. This isn't some like the characterization here isn't great with these other groups, and like this is kind of like not great. It's like high highs and real low lows sometimes in the middle parts there. And then combat wise, I like really enjoyed it, but it also didn't. It doesn't gain anything from being within the same year as Slay the Spire.
Yeah.
Which I think did overall its mechanics a little better. I think thematically the cards being your followers and them showing up in like story beats and then like you getting to kind of know them worked really well. But then like the combat itself was like it was good, it was passable, but like Slay the Spire felt better as a deck game. So like it's probably gonna make my list, but it's in that space of like there's a couple of like smaller games that I'm like kind of arguing over which one's kind of like is worth giving the shout out to at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Totally. I feel like one of those for me this year is Griftlands, which is still in early access.
Right. The Clay game, right?
The next Clay, the new Clay game, which I like a lot. But it's like I'm actually afraid it's going to fall into the same thing for me as Slay the Spire, where like I play it this year, it comes
Right.
out next year, and then I'll be like, oh, should I add it now? It's a fantastic game that takes some of the kind of deck building roguelike stuff further or into a different direction with like a little bit more characterization, a little bit more like here's a specific world you're in, narrative threads. The combat is really cool. I mean, the resolution is really cool because there's both combat resolution and narrative resolution, like dialogue, negotiation stuff. It's just really good, and it's just like beautiful. It's like it's a clay game, so like very distinct style, very great fashion, like really cool looking characters, great attacks, like all the stuff is just good. But I'm like, I don't want to. Every time there's a new update, I'm like, I'll just play. I'll do one run. I'll do one run in this new update. And
That's why I haven't started the new Supergiant game, Hades.
Right, Hades. I'm waiting on Hades too.
I heard it's really
fantastic.
good. I hear people love it. And I just saw they put out a huge fucking update for it, and I thought, is this the time? And I'm like, it's been like what, like a year now? It's like that's got to be 1.0, like in the spring or something. It's like I'm just gonna hold the line, like wait a little bit longer.
There.
Yeah,
it'll get there.
Griftlands is definitely another thing that like playing even that beta and then being like, I can see more clearly the deficiencies of Nowhere Prophet's combat, you know, and like those interactions. But like I still enjoyed my time with it, so it's like
But I mean, that's the other half of a top 10 list is fuck it, man. It's your top 10 list.
Right.
Put what you want on it. I don't give a fuck. I've like run with it. Speaking of Cube World,
Jesus Christ,
came out in September. I'm so glad this resolution. I'm glad I was able to put another 20 hours into that game for a game I bought 7 years ago. We talked about it. You can go back and listen to the Cube World episode. It may make my top 10 list.
Just based on the narrative conclusion of this, that it's alone. Just the fact that you got
came out and people didn't like it. That game perfect.
That game could suck, and it'd just be like the fact that we got to play it again is a top 10 moment of the year.
Certainly. The fact that I got to play it again, the fact that like it came out and was not the thing people wanted it to be, and it was this other weird, distinct thing in terms of its progression mechanics. That like the revelation of like, yeah, this was always going to be a thing you played for a couple dozen hours with your friends and you had an okay time with, and then you were going to move on. It was never going to, again, it's like the No Man's Sky Forever game thing again.
Yeah.
People wanted a game that would replace Minecraft for them, but the couple that was making this game was never making the game that was going to replace Minecraft. They're making a game that you could play with your friends for a couple weeks, or a couple nights in a row, or a couple weeks. And that they did that, and I really enjoyed playing through it with my friends again. Like I had the 2 weeks of playing that game and slowly poking at it and figuring it out. I said this when this game came out, but like one of the things I love most in a video game is like, what is this? What is this thing? Is why I love Outer Wilds so much. And unlike Cube World, Outer Wilds ends up being like, well, it's this thing and it's this thing, and look at all this stuff that's never been done and blah blah blah. Cube World is like, okay, it's this. Okay, cool. but it was I had a great time. I think it has a great atmosphere, a great environment, really kind of cool looking areas. And it just closing the door. Closing the door on that one is a definitive moment of 2019 for sure. Destiny 2, Shadowkeep, Kato.
Yeah.
You've said it a couple of times during our recordings today.
It's
everything else. It consumed your time.
Yeah, absolutely. That game came out on Steam with Shadowkeep. I've got 80 hours on that. Like, it's the most played game on my Steam list that I've played this year. It's the best that Destiny's ever been. Which is a thing I find myself saying a lot about Destiny, except for that one year of Destiny 2 when it came out, and then those 2 expansions were bad.
Yeah.
But since Forsaken, they've kind of turned things around, and like they've kept building and gone better. They keep making good decisions, I think, with the direction that they're taking Destiny 2, and especially with the kind of narrative stuff that they're doing nowadays, and the ways that they're finding ways to tell stories without needing to use time and budget to make large cutscenes. Like, that's not even always the best way to deliver story, especially in a world that is supposed to be ongoing. A lot of the quests that they've put out with Shadowkeep and a lot of the story stuff that was in there happened outside of cutscenes and was more character focused than those stories had been before. Eris, the whole thing with Eris Morn and like talking through her and her fire team and the like weekly quests of coming back and like helping her like deal with the kind of the literal and figurative specters of her past was great, and it's absolutely gonna make my top 10, like no question.
I would hope.
Yeah. I fucking. I mean, here's the thing: Destiny, year one, Destiny, Curse of Osiris, and Warmind would not have made my list that year if I was making lists then. I wasn't.
Right.
But like, as much as I kept up with that game, was very much like, all right. I mean, I invested in it already. I already have this DLCs. I'm gonna check it out, play through the story, feel bad because there's nothing else to do and the story wasn't that good, and go play something else.
Yeah. I am so curious to see how this like seasonal situation goes. They just announced their next season, or it started.
Yep. It starts on
and
Tuesday.
This is like the Saint 14 shit, right?
Yeah.
Which is
fucking and Osiris.
Right,
which is like great because they fucked up Osiris and Curse of Osiris. So I'm happy they're going back to that character
to lift the curse.
Yeah, actually.
I'm very curious to see some of that stuff. Sorry, I got very. We've been in this room a long time, and I looked out the door, and I got very disoriented because of the way the light looked. It looked like there was a fog. I thought it was like foggy. Anyway, I'm gonna look at this list of video games, and we can. Rob,
Yeah.
you had a big one in here, or I'm curious if it still is. If it still is kind of your cross to bear, the thing that you're defending, the Ghost Recon Breakpoint Defense Force. How are you? Like, it has been a few months. Have you kept up with it? Did it make a strong enough impression on you that you think it's breaking your top 10?
Like something will not. My suspicion is it gets knocked off.
Okay.
As I start playing some of these things in the final like sprint before I go on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
But right now it's like right there. I did fall off of it because Death Stranding came up. Like it was one of those things. I fell out of the loop, and I just didn't get back to it. Honestly, Death Stranding also changed my relationship with Breakpoint a little bit because so much of the friction that interests me in Breakpoint was there in Death Stranding without all the cruft that defines Breakpoint. And so playing Death Stranding right after Breakpoint, I was kind of thinking like, somewhere at Ubisoft, there's someone who's like, fuckers wouldn't let me make that. Like, I had, like, why do you think the soldiers can just fall the fuck down a mountain in Breakpoint? The point was, like, wilderness survival and, like, operations in deep enemy territory. And they didn't fully commit to that bit.
Yeah.
And so playing Death Stranding, which is really, like, purely focused on those friction points, kind of threw into stark relief the ways that Breakpoint kind of flinched from paying off some of the more interesting ideas that it had in it.
Yeah.
Also, as I started playing with more people, I started enjoying Breakpoint a little bit less because the design was kind of flimsy in the face of large groups. Like, larger groups of players could start churning through it in a way that was very familiar from, like, The Division, for instance. But, like,
when you and I played it, we just
little underpowered.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And a little bit hectic and chaotic in terms of, who is doing what and getting disconnected. Like, there were some major issues with the PC release.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But, like, losing contact with each other and, like, so I've got into a big firefight over here. I need help.
Yeah.
There was a lot of great stuff there. And then my solo experiences where I was so overwhelmingly outgunned and trying to figure out like how to do various missions that like Breakpoint remains a source of a lot of like great memories and gaming moments from this year. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I completely fell off of it after that time we played because other stuff came up,
Yep.
and it's so it's so overwhelming. Not just in the sense, not in the sense that you just talked about in terms of being surrounded by enemies and overwhelmed by the environment and etc. Which I also, like you, wish it would have leaned even more into.
Yeah,
overwhelming in the sense of like this is a game that has a battle pass. This is a game that has a huge skill tree and expects to support me playing it for 200 hours. And like, I'm already trying to play Final Fantasy 14 and I can't do two of those in 1 year.
But like, if the game had just been a little more all killer, no filler.
Yeah, 100%. That's the thing that fucks me up about
If
this.
more of it had been the mansion assault.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like if it didn't feel the need to be my one true game and make sure I log on every day for a log on bonus or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like that style of its strengths don't loan itself to that style.
I just want to go
structure
where Eagles dare some shit like right now.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
if you were like, I know a good mission to go run, I would do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is the part of that game that works so well. And in that ways, it always felt like Arma Light. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Where you see people who do like Arma 3 shit, and it's like, wow, like it's like doing a weekly MMO raid, except it's like 20 people or 10 people doing a raid on a facility, you know, down a mountain, and like they're not fighting 100 people, they're fighting 20 people, and it's terrifying and really cool. And this felt like that, like an arcadey version of that. And I think that a version of it that focused more in on that would have just completely wooed me and just been like so distinct. And instead it kind of put on the clothing of this other game. And or it's the other way around. It was the other game that put on the clothing of this kind of sim. And it couldn't quite mesh them right for me. I liked it, but I wasn't going to stick with it. Kato, I know you started, I know Patrick, you too, Indivisible. Did either of you keep playing that game?
No, the wait for Switch.
Me too.
Yeah, I keep checking in every once in a while. I played like an hour, a night or two ago, and I still enjoy it. But I'm only like 8 hours in total, and I'll get back to it eventually. But some of the like platforming stuff is
It's a long game.
Yeah,
Like,
it's longer than I expected.
I remember looking up when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to play the rest of the year.
It's like
30 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was like a 12 to 14 hour adventure. It's like, nah, it's a big old thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah. The big 30-hour RPG that is the thing that I need to make time for and finish. I guess it may be closer to 20. Disco Elysium, also October.
Right.
I've gone back to it a couple times. I'm slowly progressing through it. I don't really have a big update yet. My hope is... I haven't settled any of the issues I had with it at launch, but enough people now
have said
I
it's worth
trust
committing to.
I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to emphasize it. And so hopefully, my hope is that I come away really happy, but really, actually, my hope is I come away really interested or really like, I hope I have feelings about that game and I can talk about those feelings. If not in the top 10 list, then, you know, in some other format. Valfaris, Patrick, is it making the list?
Oh my God. Yeah, there's an argument I can make that my favorite game of the year.
Really?
Wow.
Easily. Yeah, it's just a really tremendous action game. It looks incredible. It sounds incredible. It plays incredible. Like it just hits on all cylinders for the exact type of thing that it's trying to do. And a lot of what's trying to do is the exact kind of shit that I love. Like I'm really into hard punishing games. I don't think this one is like overtly punishing. Like I think you can... The average player can come into this. It doesn't have to be like I'm a fan of the genre. It's the only type of person that can play it. But it's just so much fun.
The genre they need to be a fan of is metal, sci-fi, like hardcore.
Yeah, you want to play an Iron Maiden album?
Yeah, that's exactly.
I don't even like Iron Maiden,
but that's the vibe.
That's the vibe, and it's it's just you know, you get all these weird weapons, and it's just I adored playing that game. I was so mad when it ended. It ends on a cliffhanger.
Oh,
and,
does it? That sucks.
It's a very natural cliffhanger. Like, you know, it just sets up future adventures of that dude you're playing as. The story is inconsequential. I just love everything about it. So yeah, Valfaris will probably won't be my favorite game of the year because there's a good chance that's probably Sayonara Wild Hearts. But but Valfaris is really, really high up there.
Yeah, I have Sayonara Wild Hearts on my like consideration list, but I don't think it's gonna break.
Sure.
It's very good though.
Yeah.
It's like part of that. You know what? I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna get on. But you know what? The nice thing about it is I'll play it again.
Right.
I just go play it again.
90 minutes. You're good.
Yeah, I'll put it on endless or not endless or whatever the album.
I wish that game had an attract mode.
Oh, that'd be great. Just let it run.
I wish more games had an attract mode. But especially Sayonara Wild Hearts. I wish I could just. Like, you can play the soundtrack. You know, soundtrack's on Spotify and whatever. But the visuals are so incredible in that game that I'd love if there was just you know what I mean? Just like let the game play from start to finish, and I could just put that on in the background. Like, I would love to have that something that's just like, hey, I've got some friends over. I'm just going to put Sayonara Wild Hearts on like I'm putting on an LP, and it just plays in the background. It's too bad that something like that isn't there. But yeah, like I wrote in my review, like that, that game made me understand Res. We don't need to relitigate
what electronic music is.
Yeah, that debate.
Debate.
Guy who doesn't know what electronic music is, Patrick
Kingdom,
Klepek.
Kingdom.
Is this electronic music? I love this.
It sounded like pop.
Kingdom Hearts fans, electronic fans, you're out here. I see you. And
I am you. That's the thing. It's you.
And yeah, it's just like that soundtrack, the game, the message of the game, like all really spoke to me in a way that I remember telling you after I'd played it at PAX, I was like, I don't know, like this isn't really doing a whole lot for me, and I was really worried about it. But it's one that I think really comes into its own, and I had a really tremendous time with it.
Some of those level gimmicks are so good. Gimmick is an unfair word, maybe.
No, but it's a game with 1,000 ideas, and it's willing to just throw them away.
Throw them away.
Really? No, and actually, I think there was more they could have done with some of those ideas. But it is to the game's credit that it says, fuck it. Nah, we'll just go on. Like, we could build a whole game around that.
Nah.
Just move on.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see what the cutting room floor stuff was with the game, which would be, I'm sure, a billion things.
Like, briefly, for people who don't know, there's like vehicles in that game, which is wild.
There's cybernetic wolves.
That's true. There's a boss fight with a cybernetic wolf. That thing is wild.
That whole forest stage is a real.
I think the twins might be my favorite.
Yes.
Because the way that like ends up, the way that mechanic ends up evolving is fantastic.
Yeah.
With the snap.
The snap. The snap is extremely
so
good.
good.
Thanos had the wrong idea.
Yeah, you know what?
Maybe Thanos was onto something.
That's what I'm saying. Other October stuff. The big one is probably Outer Worlds. That's one that I think dominated so much of our conversation.
But I think we've all arrived at the same place with that game.
I think so. It took us.
The night before
did you finish it?
So I'm really close. Like, to the point where I finished. The game doesn't communicate real well when you're about to enter the end game, and so I did a quest.
Wait. You said it doesn't communicate very well?
Well, no. There's an end game you enter.
It communicates extremely well.
No. Hold on. Let me explain.
There's two different. I think
I'm about to. But when you enter a certain part of the end game, a bunch of other quests die along with it. Like there's, the woman you're talking to in Byzantium.
Yeah.
And she's sending you on like various things. You can do
I
for
did
her.
not see. You know what I did is I murdered her.
Whoa!
Yeah, fuck that. I'm not doing her shit. Let's talk about a different woman. You remember like the cop, the like second in command?
Yeah, the lady who's like, "Hey, go like turn in, the guy you're working with."
Yeah,
I guess maybe you never saw those questions.
No, so can we talk spoiler cone? Here we go.
Okay.
We're talking about some of the end game
Spoiler
stuff.
cone.
So Byzantium.
Yeah.
So Byzantium. One, did you find the woman in the lab? The lab where you learn what's up. You learn about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I found that, and then I went back to Wells, thinking I could hook them up. But you can't actually do that because there's a scientist in the lab in the basement of that one place,
right? That
the space pirate lady sends you to.
Right.
Dude, space pirate lady is like, there's aliens, and you go there, and they're like, no, we're all just dying.
Right.
And then you, I thought I ended up by being like, you can live, but only if you help us solve this in the long term.
Right.
And that doesn't go anywhere. Then you have the thing where you have to go into the chairman's place. You go into the chairman's place. And then at some point you get the call from the chairman's second in command, whatever her name is. Like,
yes.
She's like the head of the military, sort of, kind of, or the head of like she's like the real, like pulling the real levers of power. And she says, plant a bug on this dude, on Wells, basically, right? And so I was like, yo, this one wants me to plant a bug on you. And he was like, all right.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay,
that.
So you did that bit where it's like you plant the fake bug or you like kind of send them the wrong information or whatever it is. And then she's like, all right, come to see me, right?
Yeah.
And she's told me like, all right, well, then what I'm going to need you to go do is kill all these people in this facility.
So I agreed to that quest figuring there's got to be something else I was
like,
do.
Absolutely not. And she was like, all right, well, I guess we got to fight each other then.
Oh, right. No, I did murder her.
Yeah, I killed her.
Yeah, okay.
What stuff did she make you do?
Well, no.
Did you go
I didn't go back to have the murder sequence. Like, if you go onto the Hope and then like set up the jump that you're doing, then that quest line just dies.
I see.
So you
She gave you the stuff to do.
She gave me the stuff to do, and then if you trigger the hope jump sequence, then of course you've picked your side, and she doesn't want to fuck with you. So I did that, and then I was like, fuck, now I need to like walk out of the hope, like go. I just wanted to. I forgot that the murder part happened.
Yeah. I thought for a second that you went and killed all the people.
No.
I think she like sends you back to. She sends you back to the first place,
Edgewater.
Edgewater. She's like, well, kill all those people.
No, I said no. I said no.
Fuck no. What? Like.
I had my girl in my party with me. I was like, I'm not gonna do this.
Fuck out of here.
Especially not in front of her.
Right? So even me with the Edgewater shit where I left them to fucking die. Supported the.
I don't know. That seems like every planet you leave on some level, you're just leaving them to fucking die.
That's true. I ended up killing her, and then like that fight out of the. Did you also kill her, Rob?
Oh, by Byzantium, I was just like,
fuck all these people.
Let's get a fucking move on.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, where's this chairman at? Boosh. I was like, I had max persuasion. Guys, excuse me, you can't go there. And I was like, fuck off. Go see the other guy. Boosh. In through the hole in the wall. All right, you got your computer, Mr. Man. Hey, help me unlock this computer. Boop.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're all starving. I was like, cool, that doesn't seem good, but fairly predictable from what we've observed. Yeah. Let's get the fuck out of here. Hey, what's in this basement? It's a fucked up lab. Boosh. Boosh. It's like
a lot of Vicar Max with you then, doing the shotgun boosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I was like,
his is the only power I never got tired of.
It's very good.
His little quips were. I've heard this a million times.
He's great.
And then it's like, oh, are you gonna like take the goo from these people and like kill them? Because we need the goo to resurrect the people. I was like, take half the goo.
Take half the goo.
Yeah, I did that. 22.65 or whatever. Yeah.
Turns out not enough.
Should have taken all of it. You know, it was. Yeah. But anyway,
I did a bunch of other shit, and I was like, it's fine. I don't care enough anymore. Which is the actual story of this game. Yeah. It's like by the end, I'm like, I don't care.
I'm not engaged with.
I'm not
like this. The side quests with the characters are the only thing I truly liked.
Also, I didn't get to finish one of those because it bugged out for me. It said that Felix died, so I have no idea how.
So
Felix
that happened
ends.
with some of the that happened with one of the characters.
It was very funny,
and then I loaded back, and basically, if you just break sequence, like just go in and out of things a couple times, it'll like fix what like
really.
So I don't fix it. It just like whatever was going to cause the death.
I see.
You just like throw the loop off.
I got you. So for me, I had to go back like 6 hours. I was like,
that's bad.
He's dead now, I guess. And I forgot.
You don't just compulsively save?
I do, but I didn't notice it until 6 hours later. So it's like, yeah, great. I could go do. So I didn't realize it failed his mission. And the reason I didn't realize it is it still worked. I went and found the person on the groundbreaker.
The quest line was dead.
It was dead in the menu, but I didn't know it was dead until I went back. I did the first 2 steps of it because the steps still fire. Like it just doesn't.
But once you have to do the one after that, then it's
when you go meet someone on a planet somewhere, and I open it, he's like, yeah, what's up? And I'm like, you didn't give me a dialogue option. You just are like a regular NPC who said, yeah, what's up? What the fuck is going on? And I open the thing, it's like, oh, you failed that quest. Like, when did I fail that quest? And it's like, oh, because Felix is dead. I'm like, Felix is next to me, dog. And it was actually very funny because the end of this game, it has the Fallout thing of like, and then in Edgewater, whatever happens. And it was like, poor Felix didn't get to see whatever happened to the the new arrival because he died in the line of duty.
He stayed there wondering what's up.
No, he died. They're like straight up like he died. The captain asked too much of him and he died along the way. Like, the fuck I did. Felix barely did shit for me. Anyway,
I love in that game that
I'm sure I didn't miss much anyway on the Felix quest.
The dialogue option to just outright dismiss a crew member is just like ever present. I have dismissed crew members multiple times because like I'm just smashing through the dialogue. I'm like go, but like it's just
there.
What
you say to them,
and it's just like
go,
actually,
go.
I need you to leave the ship.
Yeah.
No.
Garbage robot, get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so like,
how is there no quest for the robot? What the fuck?
It's a bad robot. It's a bad robot.
But there could have been a quest to make it a good robot.
But they didn't. They had a
Put
robot.
brain
and they
in that
chose
robot.
not to make a good robot. Instead, they just used it as a joke because your ship's horny for the robot. Did you not come across that?
No. I missed that the ship was horny for the robot.
No, the ship is horny for the robot, dude.
Okay.
Like sometimes you'll come back there and like the ship will be like, I am a filthy ship. You must clean me. And like the robot is like dusting the cockpit.
Yeah.
And,
all right.
Yeah. So, but Yeah,
I'm
so
here for it.
I'm not here to judge.
Sam, right? Isn't that the name
Sam
of
is
the
a robot, yeah.
And the entire end of the
Sam.
game, I was just like, I need to get the fuck through this.
Yeah.
I need to be done. Like, we got to rescue Phineas from the prison
What a
planet.
disappointing final. So I like talking my way through that prison planet.
It's only the second worst prison planet.
I talk my way through the prison planet.
Yep.
Like, don't fight a soul. It's kind of cool to see the people you supported come in to help you, but it would have been more cool if that was like.
But they didn't. I was like, I've got this.
I got it, guys. I'm just gonna walk through.
Yeah, I'm walking by these guys. Why are you?
Yeah, sorry to spoil a little bit
It's
of what's
fine.
coming, but and then the final thing, which is the thing you're gonna hit probably is there's like a moment of like the bad guy is like, I have a robot that you're gonna fight, and then obviously you don't fucking fight it because you have a computer. And you like turn it off or like make it blow up or whatever. And then finally, I thought I was going to get the like Mass Effect 1 big conversation thing at the end where it's like, oh, there's going to be like a contest of wills. I'm going to be able to debate me, bro, for the head of this of the entire board or whatever. And like we're gonna have it out ideologically.
Change my mind.
And no, there was no back and I shot him in the fucking head.
He's
is
just
what
a
happened.
cipher. He's like, I'm recording my PR statement. So yeah, the game builds up to. You interrupt the recording session for the video that plays in Wall-E, basically. Like all of this game is basically the setup for Wall-E. And but in my playthrough, then I still had that power behind the throne to deal with. So I was like, hey, hey, CEO guy, get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
And he was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Don't shoot me.
And I was like, good, you work for me now. Me and Phineas are going to tell you what to do. And then the security lady was like, I have a thing or two to say about that. And I was like, I have all 3 of my persuasion stats maxed out, so let's go. And she was like, it was just like threaten, persuade. Right. And she was like, all right, I guess Galaxy is yours. And I was like, cool. And
The end.
Then the game was like, but they're probably pretty fucked anyway. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I will say again, I really like the late game reveal that like the diet toothpaste isn't just a funny gag, but is about making people not want to eat because the food is bad.
Yeah.
That's in like those little hooks are all really clever.
There was more of that.
There should have been more of that. But that felt novel for this style of game.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, actually all this disconnected stuff that you thought was side stuff is actually main plot stuff. Very cool. Not gonna make my list.
Nope.
Let's keep moving. Luigi's Mansion 3?
Liked it.
Anyone? No?
Well,
Liked
played
it.
it, reviewed it, liked it, but didn't leave much. Like, enjoyed my time with it. We'll never think about it again. One from earlier.
Yes.
Grindstone will almost assuredly
Grindstone.
make my top 10 list. Just a really like I was making up some bad excuses to like play another round of that game. Like there was one time we had to go to a afternoon kid thing at my daughter's daycare, and my wife got off work early, and it's like it was like a Halloween thing, like parents come and like trick or treater on the daycare or whatever with your kids, and we get there, and I told my wife, I was like, I gotta take like a work call really quick, and I was in the middle of a round, and because in Grindstone, there's no save state mid-round,
Sure.
so if you exit the app, it just restarts the round, and so.
So you just had it open? She didn't spot the Grindstone? She's like, you were getting a call from Grindstone?
No, she doesn't, she's not, she's driving. She's not looking at my phone.
Watching?
Yeah, she's not screen
you
watching.
trust each other.
And yeah, so and the thing is,
Who are you swiping with?
well, she didn't quite put it together because like I finished the round, like I got like a good like match of what I needed. Finished the round before she'd even made it to like the door of the place, and I was like, I don't need to take that call. Which is just, I'm just saying,
really loved it.
The game got its fucking hooks,
see,
and like
yeah.
I really liked it at launch, and then it was a week. I think in October, I had like 102 fever for like a week. It was in a bad way, and so just like sitting in bed sweating until like 3 a.m. until like I could fall asleep. And what I did during that time was like just I needed something simple.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to put a lot of effort into it, and like Grindstone was like that thing.
Was perfect for that.
me, and it's a really good one of those. Like it is. You haven't done Apple Arcade, you have a free month.
Play Grindstone.
Go play Grindstone. And the reason I've had Apple Arcade subscribed for 2 months was like I paid $5 to play Grindstone for 2 months.
You subscribed to Grindstone.
I subscribed to Grindstone, and it was 100% worth it. And I really hope they add more stuff to that game. So.
On my list, the next thing that comes up is Death Stranding, which you already started to talk about here, Rob. I'm guessing Rob 100% makes your list.
Is it your number one?
No, of course not.
All right.
Of course not.
No, I mean it's on there.
Okay.
All right. Is it high up?
It's mid. It's mid.
Okay. Mid. All right. I'm a little surprised.
In terms of like what brought me like, in terms of pure uncomplicated joy, Control buried Death Stranding.
Oh sure. Yeah.
Like honestly, like for me, like Heart is probably like Eliza might be the most like just straight to the heart and head hit I've taken this year. Death Stranding is high up. I really enjoyed that experience. But I think it's also such a shaggy dog game in some ways that like because Kojima as a storyteller never knows when to stop explaining and unpacking, that a lot of the things I really adored about Death Stranding and that really captivated me, by the end, he'd steadily sort of bled some of the magic out of. Not entirely. Like, I still loved walking around delivering parcels in that world. I loved tending my beautiful zipline garden. I loved driving big rigs down the floating hell highway. But also the end of that game is so much exposition about like, here's what's really going on. And then in case you didn't get it, someone else will be like, so here's what was really going along, and then gives you that same information. And then there's a 2-hour movie, basically, where here's the backstory in case you have not put all these things together. Here is what has really been going on this entire time. And I'm like, I got it. Like, actually, I had a lot of this stuff figured 8 hours into the game. And so Death Stranding, I think, sabotages itself a bit by just over-explaining a concept that is at its best.
That's Kojima. Like, if you'd played his other games, you'd be going, right, this is just the house style. This is what he does.
Right. Language parasites and Wolbachia.
And I think that's the thing.
I just finished watching all of the Metal Gear Solid 5 stuff, and he does all the same shit.
Death Stranding is so close to being like science fiction magical realism. And all it would have taken to land that is just to shut the fuck up. It's just at a certain point, like,
shut the fuck up.
Not everything needs to be explained, man.
God.
Not everything. And Kojima's like, I gotta explain it. You probably didn't get how clever this is. And I'm like, it's not as clever as you think.
And actually, it'd be more clever if you just let it lie instead of explaining it.
Subtlety is for cowards.
Would it,
Subtext is for cowards, sorry.
Slightly different things are going for there.
Yeah.
I want to find out if so in this game, when the embargo, around the time the embargo was up, in a Discord channel we are in, Austin, there was people wanted to discuss a line.
Do you not know what the line is yet?
Is it a spoiler to know what the line is? You know what I'm talking about?
I do know the line. Do you know what the line is?
No, but I'm also going to play this game.
What?
I know the line. It's very corny. I'll say one of the words is princess, Rob.
Oh, okay.
Do you think we should spoil it for?
But it's not really a meaningful line.
I know, that's the thing, right? It's like, I'd rather just show it to him now so he could laugh about it. Can you pull this up, Kato? Is there audio? Can you make it? Yeah, you can make it so we can hear it, right?
Yeah. Put it somewhere.
Man, Kato always uses such big windows.
Yeah.
I admire Kato's courage. He's like, I've got the screen real estate. I'm just going to fill it.
Patrick, you look this way. You're not allowed to see this.
Oh, okay.
Until it happens. I'm going to link you. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Does that work?
That's what I figured you were doing. That's why I pulled it up.
I was not thinking that far ahead. Now I'm linking you, though. Ideally, Kato, you won't see what it says either. Just make it big.
Hello Kitty.
Hello Kitty and friends.
World Market.
Let's get through this advertisement. This is definitely a spoiler. There's a spoiler element here because this is a minute of that scene. Rob, would you say this is a big spoiler?
No.
Okay, Patrick, I need you to.
I can look now?
Not yet.
Okay.
Hit play so that the title disappears.
How do we
Go
do
ahead.
it? Do we
Look around.
jump like Fragile?
No. The beach goes the whole way. We run together.
Run?
Yeah. Like Mario and Princess Peach.
Bye, Patrick. Patrick took his headphones off.
fuck?
You go ahead and pause now. That's...
What?
Yeah, like Mario and Princess Peach.
And it's in quotes?
It's in quotes.
So in the game, it sounds much more like Peach.
It's Beach. There's subtitles.
Yeah, I know. I didn't play it with subtitles, so that line just got worse.
Beached things.
Just Peach.
Just beach things. Oh, beach things.
Tony
Cat.
Romo.
Yeah.
And Hartman hanging out.
God. Well, so yeah, that game has bad writing.
The
Yeah.
2019 Bears are there.
Oh, and the Eagles, honestly.
I wish he worked with a screenwriter. Like,
Yeah.
if he had, I mean, but maybe that would, maybe that just doesn't,
Did you
maybe
see that
that's
bad?
not-
Did you see that bad thread
What?
from the Kong Island director?
No.
What's his name? Not John Voight. John.
Oh, right.
Vogt
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes. I know who you're talking. Yeah. John Voight Roberts.
John VOGT.
Yeah, he did Kong Skull Island, and he's been trying to make that MGS movie. Oh yeah, where he was this the Black Widow one?
It's the Black Widow
It's
one.
like,
It
you know what?
keeps
Looks
going.
like Black Widow. Just everything ripped they just ripped off Metal Gear Solid. I was like, shit.
Like the thing is, like it starts and you're like,
There was a shot where it's just someone shooting a bazooka out of a helicopter,
well,
and he's like,
classic
took
Metal Gear.
that from Metal Gear. He's
like it starts with him being like, oh wow, she's wearing white, huh? That sure reminds me of a certain patriot who saved the world. Like, okay, like I guess the boss did wear white, and then it's like, when did that white suit first appear? 2010, 6 years after MGS3 introduced the boss, and like, yeah, okay, and then it's just like again and again and again. At one point, now we should touch on CQC. What's CQC, you ask? It's a legendary and technical style of combat unique to the Metal Gear franchise.
Stop. Stop.
Unique.
It's called
Metal
Melee.
Gear invented martial arts.
Invented martial arts.
Which you think would have come up in that
it's so
documentary
funny.
we watched for Waypoint.
You
CQC in the Age of Loneliness.
the thing that's fucked up is Felix would absolutely do a Metal Gear Solid
Yeah.
in the Age of Loneliness bullshit thing.
I would watch that.
Yeah, I'd watch it too. Ugh.
That's right. I'm still gonna play that.
I'm
game.
gonna still play that game too. That is my big holiday break game. I think.
Yeah,
that is the one that I know I'm not gonna finish in time, and I just need to
let it
go.
And also, I don't. It's hard for me to imagine.
It will not breach my top.
Right. So then I just don't feel the pressure
Or
to do it.
it
Like
might-
as opposed to it might breach the bottom half.
Yeah.
But whereas I feel more worse about like a Disco Elysium, where it's like I just know that's gonna be maybe my favorite game next year.
And and it's like I'd rather at this point I have the time
Right.
to commit to a Disco Elysium and a Control before I write this.
Right.
Probably.
Right.
And it's like where do I put that time? How do I prioritize it? And I'm not giving Kojima that time of mine right now. I'm not. But we'll be on your list.
Rob,
Mid.
or did we just ruin it with that cutscene? Did we just knock it down?
You didn't
Knock it down a
fall off.
spot.
It dropped.
It went from 6 to 9.
No, I think it's at 5.
Okay. Pokemon making your list, Kato.
No.
I know
Yeah.
you've been. I mean, listen. I know that there was.
No. Yeah, no. It's lower than it probably would have been if it were any of the other Pokemon games.
Right.
For real. But I still think that the mechanical changes that they made and the kind of overall framing and world setting that they've done, it's a good Pokemon game. It's not one of the better Pokemon games. I still really enjoy that, and I'm gonna, even though I blew through it, quote unquote, finished it. I'm gonna keep playing it past campaign stuff because the other stuff that's there is really fun still.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be there. It'll be there somewhere.
Somewhere in there. I completely fell off of it. I hit the realization. I was like, I'm gonna play through. You know what? Good self-care decision on my part. I was like, I'm gonna play through a third of this and then stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Let me play through a tenth of this and then stop.
There you go.
Done. Out. You know what I mean? Instead of committing to the third, pretending I would play all playing the whole
Look,
thing.
if you're not doing this for content, then you're good.
I can make my own choices now.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
free.
It's I'll go back to it's like I entertain the idea of playing it. I've played Pokemon before. I've liked Pokemon before,
too.
but it seems like largely the same thing. I'm interested in
Has
it
there
being
been a
I'm
more
interested,
dramatic
I'm
change?
interested in being different. I understand that it probably won't ever be that. And so I've long accepted. I think the last one I tried was XY on 3DS.
Yeah. I like
You should
XY.
play Sun.
What?
You should play one of the Sun and Moon ones.
Sure, but even
should.
then, it's
They should
just
put it on Switch.
Put it on Switch.
I'm not bringing out my 3DS because I'm not good at this. I don't know where my 3DS is.
Let alone the charger.
I went back and
'Cause
finished.
it's not like it looks like a USB, but it's not. It's
not.
like its own little fucked up thing.
Proprietary. Only
I hadn't touched. When did Sun and Moon come out? That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Literally, the last game I played on my 3DS was Sun and Moon. Closed it, opened it up, and it still had charge.
Nice.
I hadn't opened. I figured that would drain slowly over 2
my
years.
Switch drains way quicker than
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
Yeah. The other big one in November was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Mm-hmm. I know, Patrick, you and I played it. Rob, have you gotten to it yet? How did you finish it? I know you said yesterday's podcast, the Sekiro
You
stuff.
can also, if you sign up for that Origin thing, you can basically like rent it for a month.
Yeah.
It's a good way to play that
I
game.
bought it in a fit of optimism.
And now
Have not played it.
have not played it.
Yeah.
I installed it and I was like, that's gonna be great. I can't wait.
And then haven't.
Got through the opening where you get off the.
That opening's good.
Yeah, it's good. I just haven't been back because then Pokemon was
Other
that
games,
same week.
yeah.
I
liked it. I liked it. I still like it.
think it's on my list.
I'm pretty sure it's on my list.
I like Star Wars enough, and I think
Yes.
that there are some endgame stuff that I'm not going to spoil here, actually.
Unless
Don't
you're watching
watch.
a Thanksgiving
Unless you're
Xbox
watching-
commercial.
Yeah, that I think is cool enough that I think like the big moments in that game are big enough and cool enough that whatever my like complaints about the middle of that game, which are meaningful complaints about the kind of biggest levels.
Yeah, there's a whole planet, which is the third of the game, that I didn't even like.
Yeah, and
The
I think
whole red
that's-
planet, yeah.
I think that
Dathomir.
it's Dathomir. I the one that I didn't like as much was Boromir. No, it wasn't Boromir.
That's the ice one.
Legolas. No, the first ice one. Whatever the first.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah, no, not the late game
Not the
thing.
late game
Yeah.
one, but the other one.
I liked that
I
one.
liked the bulk of it. What I didn't like was,
when you went
or
underground.
maybe it was that Kashyyyk where you go underground. Anyway, both of them.
Second half of Kashyyyk is great.
second half
Highlight of the game.
Yeah, second half of Kashyyyk, fantastic. Anyway,
First part of Kashyyyk is just okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're in that like Imperial
yeah.
where factory or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is there were some down moments in that game, but I still think overall,
I feel like
and
I
don't like
never
Cal
got-
Kestis and like yeah.
No, the main character sucks ass.
But I actually, a thing that I will call out here, and this is like a light spoiler, is it is a game that treats Order 66 in a way that
it's the first time we've
I think like Clone Wars has probably touched it in this way too, or like some of the animated stuff.
Sure.
But like it treats it like trauma.
Yes.
That it treats it as like a serious thing that people lived, that, most people died.
It
Not
wasn't
most
just a
people, most of the
plot- it's
Jedi
not just a
died
plot
through.
point.
Yeah. And like, hey, this scarred people, this left people feeling, gave them survivor's guilt. It changed their relationship with people that they were close to. It brought them in conflict with loved ones. And it does that stuff really well.
forced them to give up the Force.
Yeah, totally. Totally. That
like,
stuff is all really fantastic. And so shout outs for that particular beat that it worked well.
So it's interesting because I think Gene Park over at Washington Post, what's it called? The Launcher. It's like their vertical.
Yeah.
He had an interview with one of the writers in the game, or I don't know exactly who, but basically like that stuff was almost all cut. Like the whole, there's a slight spoilers. There's like a sequence where you like live through part of Order 66.
That whole sequence is great.
Which is maybe one of the highlights of the game. Was almost not kept in the game because it was like outside of like the game flow, but they like
all of the outside of the game flow stuff is great in
Yes.
that game.
Yeah.
All of it. There's
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 sequences.
and I wish there was more of it.
Me too. That stuff is and is more linear and is just well directed, beautifully lit, has like great pacing.
I wish there was more sequences with
There is
your mentor.
Me too.
Like just instead of just, oh, I'm unlocking a new power, stick me in this box and learn it. Like,
Yeah.
let's go spend an hour with him.
Go on
and-
an adventure together. Let
Which
me
actually,
be his Padawan.
that's a lot of what that game is missing. Is like, I wish there were side quests with your crew.
Yeah, me too. I wish
where it's
they
like
were actual companions.
actual companion
There's
quests.
there's that sequence where you're traveling.
Go take us to like some bar and then like, or just at the very least like sit down and like chat with these people.
Yeah.
The only thing the game has is like these very strange optional conversation things. Like when you land on a planet, they'll stand in front of the ship, and then like there's actually like 1 or 2 times in the game where you get a dialogue choice. Like they have a dialogue choice UI that they use like 3 times.
It's very weird.
Which makes me think that maybe there was like, but why would you build that if there weren't plans to do something more with that? Because I like the crew. They seem like they're set up to have, some of them have very interesting backgrounds, but you just don't get it. There's no opportunity to sit with them.
There was a moment when you're leaving Dothamir where there's another character with you who's like conversing with you as you fight your way off of Dothamir, and that is my favorite part of Dothamir. I don't know if you remember the bit I'm talking about. Where it's like, oh wow, there's another person to talk to. There's just another character who's getting characterization, who's like a really cool character, and is like teasing Cal, and there's a relationship here, and it works. And I wish that happened throughout that game more. Like part of the reason that Dark Souls does the thing it does, which is like you're alone in the world, is because those are games about loneliness. Those are games about separation. Those are games about fragility. Those are games like that's not what this game is about.
No,
and like it could be filled with more people.
Do you think there's a reticence among game developers to lean on these more traditional modes of storytelling because there was such what is the medium's unique strength, discourse, like 10, 15 years ago, when a lot of people were in their, when a lot of people were in their formative stages of their career,
that shit,
like rejecting that stuff, and it's like they are different brushes, in the tool set, and they can have different effects, but this is the first time I've heard about like narrative elements being on the chopping block because people are like, this doesn't fit with what the rest of the game is. And it's like, that's how pacing works. That's
right.
And the answer there for me is like, if that is the reason, then I think they're misunderstanding. I think that they're misunderstanding what the form is, because it's not an open world like action moment when you're doing that the Order 66 flashback, or there's a sort of a prophecy sequence that I think is super good, that has an all-time good like scene transition, if you know what I'm talking about, and that it only works as well. In some ways, it only works as well because it is you're entering this new unique mode of narrative format. Like I probably wouldn't love the purely linear game. I kind of talked about how the best moments of the game are those more linear moments, but part of it is like you're in something special.
Part of the sequence is similar, Rob, to what's the maze in Control?
The ashtray maze.
The ashtray maze. There's a specific sequence in Fallen Order that aesthetically plays with some similar ideas in a way. We somehow did not talk about the ashtray maze.
I don't want to hear about it. I appreciate it.
But this is the
thing I've heard is like so
fucking
good.
Cool.
Yeah, that is like one of the things that's pulling me forward in that game.
It's being oversold a bit.
It's still fucking cool.
Okay.
It is.
But I appreciate this as someone who's about to play it, because that means that I will go and do it with more realistic expectations.
Thanks,
Speaking of realistic expectations, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, pretty good.
Pretty good. And,
I love Star Wars. It's getting to my list. I like killing those bounty hunters. I think that the weird transition that happens when you go to the bounty hunter place and you get weird. They really like the bit in Bloodborne where you get kidnapped. And they're like, what if we could do that in Star Wars? They kind of did it. Didn't super work for me. But I like fighting those bounty hunters. I like it when those bounty hunters show up and you're like, man, fuck these guys.
But it's like the way that game handles it is strange because. So to explain, you essentially get a bounty on your head, and then at various points going through old parts of the game where maybe you're just trying to
get back to your ship, or
look for treasures and like find secrets. Like all of a sudden, like named enemies show up and are bounty hunters out to get you. But if you die in that sequence and go through the exact same area, they won't be there.
It's super weird.
It's really
like
strange.
Mini bosses. I like it. It very much felt like someone was like, how do we get there's no bounty hunters in this fucking game. Bounty hunters are important in Star Wars. How do we get some bounty hunters in here? And again, what if there's like random mini bosses?
Okay, so randomly, a few weeks ago, I was like, during your more Star Wars, like Call to Arms, I was I just want a fucking Star Wars like heist movie, like Thief or something. And someone recommended like, hey, Timothy Zahn basically wrote Thief, but Star Wars, book called Scoundrels. I know. Oversells it.
Yeah,
it's not Thief.
Yeah.
Timothy Zahn doesn't have Thief.
Those
in him.
chops.
I like Thief a lot. I like Timothy Zahn a lot, but like, just isn't interested in characters that way. He's never been a really character-focused writer. But it is a very clear example of Timothy Zahn wanted to write a sci-fi heist story, and using the Legends universe, just jammed into like, okay, so like 2 weeks after the first Death Star was blown up, Han and Lando break into this crime lord's like super secure vault using a team of ragtag like specialists that you've never heard of before or since, or their tie-ins with other Zahn works,
right?
Or Aaron Alston works. But like they all come together. These characters do not know each other, or they've contrived like these characters will somehow meet later in the series, and this time it'll be their real meeting. But like for now, their paths are crossing. But it's just very funny the degree to which it is just like a publisher probably wouldn't have published I want to do a sci-fi heist book.
Yeah.
But if you put a Lando sock puppet on one arm and a Han Solo sock puppet on the other, I'd be like, hey, let's break into this crime lord's vault. You mean the Black Sun crime lord? Yes.
I loved this video in Control.
I know.
Yeah, but that's how it feels. Is like Han like saying really un-Han things, and it's like, okay, sure, you guys are doing the
whatever you got to do to make this happen.
Yeah,
whatever you have to do in order for me to realize that I need a lightsaber to get through this. Whatever, to steal a lightsaber from a Jedi, and then whatever, which is not probably what happens. But
no, actually, a guy already has a stolen lightsaber.
See, there you go. That's it. There you go.
I never got tired of deflecting.
Me either. Dude, when you get to
there's one room towards the end of the game where there's no way to get up.
Yes,
to
they're like the jail cells.
Yes, you get into a jail cell and there are like 20 like stormtroopers, and it's such a It's probably maybe the best enemy sequence they set up in the game, because specifically you have
it's really good.
You have all of these stormtroopers that you can't reach. And you have one guy on the ground chasing after you, and he's a powerful enemy. He's a dude that will fuck you up if you're not paying attention. And so you're running from him, trying to get one or two hits in, while at the same time timing your shots to like take out these stormtroopers who can't do that much damage to you. They can mostly just like interrupt your attacks.
But that's
so
a
you
problem.
think you're going in to like hit this heavy dude, and then like boom, like hitting the back, and you're like, you asshole, and it's like dink, 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 and then so I take out the main guy, and then you've got like 6 left, and you're just standing there like a fucking badass. Like you just stand there and go dink, shoot me.
Yeah,
shoot
I fucking
me,
hope you will.
Shoot me.
Yeah.
Dink. Ah.
Yeah,
I'm actually I'm sure this probably happened by the time this goes up, but I pitched EA. I was like, hey, can I talk to whoever is the person who wrote all the extremely funny lines for the stormtroopers when they get fucking scared? And they're like, we'll run up the chain. And they came back, they're like, we'll find you someone.
Good.
Good.
That's exciting. I just want you to know the thing that you're describing is Dark Souls 2. That is the experience you just described. Minus instead of being able to go dink and hit the blaster from back, what I did was throw a fucking lightning bolt at those people after I was done fighting
magic users. Okay.
Not just holy. It was faith. That was a faith build. Very good in that game, or it was at launch. Anyway, that is the last really, really, really big one for this year in terms of big releases. I know we skipped over stuff, and I want to we'll do a quick go around. I will say from December, the stuff that is either out now or still to come that we haven't talked about yet. Phoenix Point, which are you going to put time into that, Rob?
Yeah, I am. A few colleagues
I've seen some mixed response.
Critics seem to like it. The audience seems not to.
Yeah. So Paul Dean wrote a really positive review on Eurogamer.
Yeah,
and really,
I like Paul's critical perspective.
Right, and so that made me feel a lot better. The other thing that I've been getting a lot is it's just a really janky, not XCOM, and that's the thing. It's not XCOM. It's not trying to be XCOM. In many ways, it's diverging from what modern XCOMs are. But nevertheless, there is a ton of. It is not a very well-made game in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of good design ideas in it. So that seems to be the impression. I need to spend time with it.
Me too.
Because I think my suspicion is, sounds like a really interesting miss.
Right.
But
it is a game that I really want to check out and just see. There are so many neat little ideas in terms of this is a game that has the Valkyria Chronicles system of aiming, where you actually aim and the enemies have different armor points and
weird.
It's very weird. And there's not a random chance to hit in the same way. It's there's an all of your shots have an inner circle and an outer circle, and it's 50% chance to hit the inner circle, 50% chance to hit the outer circle, basically, when you pull the trigger. Okay. And so if you can line up the inner circle 100% on someone, you're gonna hit them. But a lot of bigger weapons, you know, a Gatling gun or whatever is not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to do that as well. And like that is neat, but I don't know if it's good. You know what I mean? And I just haven't played it to know. The other big December release for me is Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries.
I guess you could spoil the embargo now on this podcast, right?
What do you mean?
Well, you could say if you like the game or not.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. Because this isn't coming out for a while.
Right.
And the answer is I don't know yet. Well, sort of.
Okay.
I have been very frustrated with that game. I guess I have, let me see. I've put like a meaningful amount of time into it. Oh, I can't tell because it's on the Epic Game Store. That doesn't give me an hour count. But I played a couple dozen hours, like 15, 20 hours.
Oh,
maybe?
wow. Okay. And you still don't know.
There are things about that game there's things that game does really, really well. I think that there's a sense of scale and like power in these machines that is really good. It gives a sense of like physicality to the destruction. You know, you're like walking into a frontier city and like you have a mission to destroy the city. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do that by like blasting rockets at the top of the skyscraper and causing like all of it to come cascading down. I'm going to like march through the retail district of this small town and just like in this huge mech just shatter everything. It feels great. Like
it does feel great. It doesn't feel like flimsy. Like
no, that stuff feels good.
Okay.
It really does. My biggest complaints are twofold, and the thing is they literally today put out a big rebalance patch of that game, and so I could go home tonight and feel way better about some of this stuff. One is you're too capable against enemies. My favorite Mechwarrior and BattleTech World stuff. This is true maybe for mechs in general for me, is like I think a 4-on-4 fight or an 8-on-8 fight should feel terrifying, and you shouldn't have the thing of like there are 20 battle mechs against 7 that are really strong and the 7 can win or something like that. Like my favorite stuff in the genre is that like every machine is potentially a source of death. And I think BattleTech, again, we haven't talked about it all this year or in this Game of the Year thing, but I think actually could theoretically crack my top 10 because of how much I love the DLC.
I am just saying it's ineligible for this year.
I'm
like,
not.
To me, I'm just not discussing
yeah,
it.
I put so much time into it this year. It had very good. It had 3 expansions.
Just 10 expansions.
You're good.
He just doesn't. He wants to get himself a slot back. So he's not, which I get. But right now, it's in my top 10, and it's in my top 10 because as it's gotten better, one of the things it's done is made it so that like light mechs are still really deadly. Mechwarrior 5 is the opposite. Like, even in a medium mech, nothing can fucking touch me. I'm just, like, unstoppable. You're fighting, in some missions, a dozen mechs without really being in harm's way. And it's so weird because this is a team... I mean, it's weird and it's not weird. This is the team that made Mechwarrior Online. And when I think about playing Mechwarrior Online, the thing that distinguishes that game, or past Mechwarrior multiplayer games, from other first-person shooters is there's a degree of, like... you know, in Call of Duty, you get into a gunfight. Even in Battlefield, you get into a gunfight. It goes wrong real quick. You're dead. You know, maybe Battlefield, there's a chance of getting back and maybe getting to a medic, but most of the times you get knocked out and a medic maybe finds you and can heal you. In in Mechwarrior games, you come over the hill and you like a stream of rockets hits you or a stream of missiles. Someone locks onto you and you get missiles in your face and you're like, oh shit, my armor is falling apart on my shoulder. Let me tilt the other way to show them my good shoulder so that the bad shoulder doesn't get torn apart.
This is all I remember of Mechwarrior 2, which is the only one I've played.
And you skirmish a little bit and you're like, oh, I'm going to back the fuck off because otherwise they're going to just crush me. Let me try to come at it at a different angle. And there's this like great like tug of war where you feel like 2 big armored knights slamming against each other, hoping that the other's armor gives way. And this is not that. This is
an action game.
This is like Mech Assault in a lot of ways, where it is an action game. And like there are missions where this is what I was saying to you at the beginning of the day, was there's a mission type called Warzone where you've been paid to kind of protect a town and clear out some enemies nearby and then keep clearing out waves. And it is literally like a horde mode, like a wave base. And it's like, oh right, this is a team that makes a multiplayer game.
Right.
They've never made a single player game before. There is authored single player content. Like so it's like BattleTech, there's like a space map that you're like a galaxy map, and you are kind of doing a bunch of proc gen missions to build your reputation, and when your reputation like levels up, you unlock a new story mission. Some of those story missions have been good. Some of those story missions have had really cool moments. But by and large, and so I don't think it's going to crack my top 10, but I could go home tonight and play it again and be like, oh shit, they've adjusted the balance in a certain way. The patch notes literally talk about all of the complaints I'm having. So it's like they released a beta with like 5 random missions for people to play. And I think the response to that was everything I just said. which is this is not what these people want. These people want that same experience they had playing Mechwarrior online, but in single player. But that relies on like having good AI. That relies on things that are not just like tweaking the dials.
Right.
So we'll see. I'll also just say, and you and I will probably talk about this a little bit more next week once the embargo comes. I mean, by the time people listen to this last week or the week before.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. You're going to get more informed impressions from a podcast that runs earlier than this.
Which is weird. But BattleTech, I mean, for Patrick's sake, because I know, Kata, you played BattleTech.
Yeah.
Rob, you've obviously played BattleTech. In fact, you've played the tabletop game years ago. That's a world that's a setting from the 80s, written by a bunch of white dudes originally, who had a very 80s idea of what like a cool world was, and that meant that there was a space Japan where everyone was like adhering to Bushido,
but also they were cyberpunk.
And there was
because why not both?
There was space China, and they're all like backstabbing, like,
and they're backwards and fucked up and laughable.
Yeah, and like and ineffective and effete, like, and then there's like the badass European and American stand-in nations who have their issues, but you know, the fascists have cool uniforms, don't they? Like that vibe. And BattleTech, the Harebrained Schemes game, managed to continue that world while still situating all of those problems of the world inside of the world, in the sense that you never met someone from the Draconis Combine who was like, I'm too afraid to lose Giri to make this mistake. Giri is like a Japanese word that means face, like lose face, but that often gets used in cyberpunk and Western fiction because it's untranslatable.
There are multiple BattleTech novels that are all about a proud warrior torn between ninja and Giri.
Yeah, exactly. It's this exactly. Yeah. And so BattleTech gets away from that, or situates it such that you're like, hey, the Draconis Combine, yes, has its roots in Japanese culture. Yes, it was like filled with Japanese people, but it's actually a very diverse place. And while there are still, parts of their culture driven by that, it's a stereotype almost to think about it only in those terms. And ways to write with the ethos, but without the stereotype. That is not this game. This game is like, time to drop in on these fucking Draconis Combine House Kurita samurai, and they broke the code of Bushido, and now you're the one to make their Ronin. Yeah, exactly. And it is like heavy metal, metal is fine, but it's that vibe versus the sort of like orchestral score driven, the kind of a little bit more thoughtful world building. This is just like, let's lift that world and drop it in here. Fuck it, man. Like, don't trust House Liao because we know they're all backstabbers. Don't kowtow to them, quote unquote. Like, it is that vibe that is like, oh, you are really and it's so funny in a way to see BattleTech 2 years ago or last year, and now Mechwarrior this year, where it's like, it turns out having a really, really, really strong writing team helps a lot. So I don't know, but I'm also, who knows? I don't even know how far into the game I am. I have no idea how big this thing is. I'm going to go home this weekend and play some more of it and see if it changes my mind, but we'll see. Anyway, at this point, it's getting late. Let's talk about games we didn't get to, games we may have skipped over from our lists.
Let's see.
Stuff that you want to play more.
Sunless Skies.
Sunless Skies, a game I needed to play more of.
Cool narrative. I think the game part of it might just be too slow to unfold for me. That again, it's like,
you love the narrative stuff.
I love the narrative. I love the style. I love the vibe. But like, man, does it feed you the story by the teaspoon?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta get sorry, I can't just cruise over this like beautiful painted map for hours. Like, I need to go.
I have one, Pathologic 2, a game that at this point I think is fair to say is a market failure.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like more of that game is coming. I made the bad decision of I'm going to wait until it's all the way released, because my understanding at the time of launch was like, oh, there's big DLCs coming that are going to add different characters and stuff. I want the whole buffet.
The game bombed.
The game bombed, which is a bummer because I really liked the original Pathologic.
I think Icepick had to lay off a bunch of people, right?
So, from what I've played of it, it is a good sequel to that game. In the same way that Shenmue 3 is a good sequel to Shenmue 2. And it is one of my, I'm like frustrated at myself that I didn't find the time for it in the middle of the year. Like, I feel like that was like I mean, as people now know, my year was very weird and and hectic, and like trying to make plans. I still feel bad that I didn't find the time for the sequel to a game I really liked a lot.
And it's too bad that well, I don't know, like, they in some ways relented on the mainstream criticism of the game about its
The difficulty stuff.
difficulty and the inaccessibility, which when I've read, quotes of the designers of that game saying like, well, that's the point. Like, actually, like, failure is not a failure state. It's a
step on the path.
It's a step on the path.
Is to get an end game.
And I don't know if that stuff built in there from the beginning would have changed anything. I don't know if that would have been, given people more of an option, more of a window in. But that first game was such a weird thing. It's almost just a minor miracle that a sequel happened.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. Kato, Rob, any other games we've skipped over that are standing out on your list or
Unity of Command 2.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, just great tactics. I talked about it just a few weeks ago.
Still want to play it.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's, I think, toward the bottom of my list because it's just there's been a lot of like great stuff that caught me by surprise this year. Unity of Command 2 was a slightly more familiar quantity, but still, it's again, it's cool to see refinement and evolution.
Yeah. One for me, Mutazione is a game I wish I'd put more time into. Beautiful, gorgeous game about kind of connecting with your heritage. Also, if your heritage was like a cool island where mutants lived, and also some gardening. It is so beautiful, and the soundtrack is fantastic, and it fits. You know what I wish I would have done, Rob, is when you were talking about After Party, I should have been like, you should go play Mutazione, because I feel like that feels like it's picking up some of that not heritage, but like the legacy of what was the name of that previous game? I always forget the fucking name of.
What?
From the After Party developers.
Oxenfree?
Yeah, Oxenfree. Or even Night in the Woods style 2D, like walk around visual novel-y stuff.
Here's the thing that we didn't talk about that should at least get a shout out. Dicey Dungeons.
Dicey Dungeons.
Fuck. That game was fucking great.
Fuck. I gotta look at my list.
Yeah, right? I
Dicey
just realized, I was like
Dungeons is
just
great.
going through my Steam list, like, what else did I play this year? It's like, oh fuck, we didn't even touch on Dicey Dungeons.
I did the one run. I beat the first run, beat the first character.
Right.
And then was like, I want to play this game on
Switch. Same
And
thing.
So I set it aside, and they a couple weeks back announced that they were doing one but it won't be till next summer. So
The 2020 game of 2019.
Yeah.
Add it to the
Whatever
list.
it is. Yeah, add it to the list.
What the golf?
What the golf?
The golf.
I fell off of it. I think I
You made a mistake.
yeah.
Your completionist thing.
I'm a completionist thing. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it was. Still good.
Still good. I think we
Enjoyed my time with
we
it.
recommended at the time. Don't do that. Like
Just move forward.
Well, no, it is worth attempting to do the extra goals at each hole.
Yeah.
But like I encountered one recently that felt like it aired way too much on luck, and I tried it 4 or 5 times and was just like, I'm not enjoying this.
Yeah.
I'm moving on.
So for me, it's not, I didn't get stuck because of my completionist thing. I just burnt out. I wish I just all the time I spent doing those side ones. I wish I got a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Or a little bit. I wish I would have had a broader experience instead of a deeper experience with the content that I had. If that makes sense.
But it's really good. It started on Apple Arcade, but it's on a bunch of other. It's on the Epic Game Store, and I don't know if it's on Switch yet, but I know it's coming there.
Ring Fit, Patrick.
Yeah, that's, you know what? I didn't have it on this list. Oh shit, that fucks everything up because that actually might be the game of the year. Ring Fit Adventure
What
is
level are you in that game?
it's World 4, I think 4 or 5.
Did you unlock the skill tree yet?
No.
Wow.
There's a skill tree in that
there's a skill
game.
tree like
Hell yeah.
20 hours into the game. There's a lot going on there. Yeah, Ring Fit Adventure is, I think, a really tremendous accomplishment on Nintendo's part. It is a really wonderful successor to Wii Fit, whereas Wii Fit was like, fitness is a curiosity. Ring Fit Adventure is like, well, how do you use engagement as, like, you know, the notion of gamifying exercise existed long before Ring Fit Adventure, but Ring Fit Adventure is a game that understands like bodies, understands different bodies. I haven't touched on this stuff, but apparently has lots of really good accessibility options.
Awesome.
If you come to the game with different needs, and it's, you know, like in the I didn't really read a review of it, but in my sort of impressions piece, found it it recognizes that you might be ashamed of exercise, or recognizes you may not understand exercise, and like walks you through that in a way that is like very respectful. Even though it's a game, it isn't shameful about like you like messing up. There's none of that here. It's a game that really wants you to engage with what it's got in front of you. And like it's a game that like has transformed on some level my relationship with my own body. And it's like that's like a really profound thing for a game,
especially for someone who has done other types of fitness stuff before. So like to some degree, it's like the pitch, the dream pitch for that game is like, oh, if you've never done fitness stuff before, then this could be a doorway in. And like that's the story I almost expect to hear.
Yeah.
But for someone who's like, you run every day.
Yeah.
Right. But like, and yet this still has changed your relationship.
Yeah. Because like as I like wrote in my piece, it's like running is easy. It came natural to me. There wasn't a lot of effort involved. It's just go out and do it. But like upper body stuff, it's like I would try and watch a video. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I felt ashamed about it, and then didn't want to pay to hire someone. Like I don't want to do it in front of a person. Like that didn't feel good either. So I just ignored it, and I was like, I'll just do this one thing that I know how to do. But I want it to be more well-rounded, and like this game understands that. Like it does small things, like it tells you to like push your armpits, or it says like pretend you're squeezing something in your armpits, and like once you do that, it's like, oh,
I can
this
feel that
feels
muscle group.
completely different than what I was doing before. It like understands the observations it should be making about your body, and I cannot believe I haven't updated. See, I haven't updated this in a couple of weeks.
There's your problem.
And there's a good chance that might be number one.
That might break through,
or certainly right near the top, because it's really, really well done. It's got some problems. I wrote about this just for Thanksgiving. It treats all exercises the same. So I come into it with a high level of endurance for cardio stuff. And so when I started the game, I was like, oh, I should put the difficulty up. But the difficulty is flat in Ring Fit Adventure. So you can't treat
be a cardio 6.
Right.
And
it's
then...
not like ab workouts, cardio, arms are all treated exactly the same. And so the example I used was like when I got a plank for the first time, and so traditionally planking is like you lay down, you put your elbows in front of you, and you kind of like you're doing a push up, similar to a push up, and you stick your ass in the air, and you're supposed to stick it up there as long as you can. When I was telling my mom about this game, she was bragging how at some point she could do it for 4 minutes, and I was like, what the fuck,
Jesus.
And in this game, you do it for like 3 to 5 seconds, and then you go back down and you do it over and over again. Well, it's like I'd set it high, and then I come across this, and it's like, hey, why don't you do 22 planks in one sequence? Because that's what I have the other, and like that difficult. I have it set to like hard, and like that's fine for like some of the upper bodies. Like I'm able to manage it, but like a plank is like extremely. It's like really difficult, especially if you've never done one before. Like it's just a part of your body that you're not used to like lifting and sustaining. So I did 53 of them in like a 10-minute span, because that was just the yellow ab workout I'd had as a combat option.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I felt like shit for the next couple of days in a good way.
But also...
But what I would have preferred is like, I want to tune down the ab one to like easy. So it's like I do 6 of them. I don't need to do 22 of them. And the game doesn't have those options. So it just treats it like, oh, you're getting better at exercise. It's like, well, no, that's not actually true.
Right. That's not how it works for people.
It's not how it works for people. Right. And now, granted, you can just not include it in your repertoire, but it's like, that's not what I want to do. I do want to do planks. I just don't want to do 22 of them.
Yeah.
The good thing about the difficulty, though, is that it keeps asking you how you felt the session before, and it doesn't...
So were you able to tell the game, like, I wished I was dead?
Well,
but I didn't know. Now I just deal with it. Now what I do is just cycle the... Like, basically, if I do the plank once, it's like, cool, I've done it for the session, and I'll just do other ab workouts.
Yeah.
Because I want to keep all the others at the difficulty level I have it. If I was to make those easier, then I'd be getting less out of the workout than I wanted.
Right. But the way that it like presents or asks about like difficulty, it's always like either way, and it like never shames you if you have to pull it back down. It even says like if you're being overworked, like it's okay to bump it down. You can bump it up and down like however you want, and it's actually a really great way to like. I've never exercised regularly.
Right.
I've been doing this like every day for like the last 16 days,
Oh, hell
except
yeah.
for
Nice.
the weekends.
Sure.
I take the weekends off.
Yeah, fair.
But being able to be like, I'm okay at this level. I'm gonna bump it up a day and like
I'll try it out.
have that progress, like, but also like it's been really, really great, and it's like it's also like a good, like the right chunk of time. It always feels like.
The only problem I have with the time investment part of it is the RPG stuff, which I had my wife try it because she was really interested in giving. She was like, "This looks really fascinating," and she's like, "I want to do more upper body stuff," and she like got like 30 seconds into like
The people
talking,
talking.
a cutscene,
Right.
and she looked at me. She's like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Oh, this is like an interesting." Fuck it. There's another menu where you can just do the exercises. Like you're good. Like I've.
Right.
She
You
like
realized
looked
immediately.
right through me, and I was just like, let's just like the thing was talking to her, and she's like, what? Why is there an Katie?
I do
It's
think
just-
the beginning one is probably the longest though.
and you
I
can't
feel
skip
like,
a bunch of it.
Right.
So there's a lot of RPG mechanics, right? So like you can do buffs. So it's like if you're fighting an enemy that is blue, that means like the leg workouts which are blue are going to be effective. So you can make these smoothies that give you a three exercise buff on those. It's just like it takes a long time to do all that stuff. You spend a lot.
Right.
You could like
especially if
to do
you're
a
holding
third-
it
Yeah.
and to move to the left and right, you like kind of give it a quick turn. And if you're turning like from the left side of the first thing that you're choosing all the way to the end where the buffs are, where like the smoothies are, your items, like you're like doing this.
Just
like,
use the analog stick. You can use it during the game.
Right.
But it just means like to do a 30-minute workout, like an in-game timer 30-minute workout, is an hour.
Right.
And so like what I wish you could do is I wish there was an app. Like I wish there was a place where like I could
Right.
like hey like the night before like do my prep work, like got all my smoothies made, like I don't because like I'm in the
That'd
middle
be great.
because what happens is like I'll be in the middle, like I've got my heart rate going. And it's like I just want to keep going, and it's like, oh well, I'm about to do a boss battle. Now I got to spend 5 minutes making these fucking smoothies. Or it's like either give me an option to do
But I
it
mean, you
outside
gotta-
of the game, or you're not getting it. That's just one. Like you need the repetition.
Wait, are you doing it like this? You got to do like this.
No, I know, but I'm just saying
Armpits.
But you're only doing one to get the smoothie out, and
Right.
anyway. But it's like,
Oh, I make them in sets of 5 for that reason.
oh, there you go.
So
I
it's
can
just
see
like,
that. Yeah, I wish you could do it outside the game, or there are times legitimately where like I like the framing. I don't need all the busy work, and I wish I could just turn off dying. Like because you get into a boss battle. I had one time where like I got all the way through. Fuck, I didn't. This is before you get healing items and stuff
Right.
like that. Where it's like I died and I was like, great, I have to do that 30-minute boss fight all over again because I didn't make an extra fucking smoothie.
Right.
Like, just. I was actually surprised that when I died, the game wasn't just like, "Do you want to get back up again?" I was like, because it's otherwise been like a very gentle, no failure state sort of thing. It's like, nah, you can go ahead and fight that boss again,
Yep.
buddy. So I hope they revisit this game. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know how successful it's been. The lack of attention to Mario Maker like makes me nervous because like what I'd love is like anything else, like this should be a service game.
Yeah.
Like it should be like the difficulty levels for like individual exercises. Like I don't want to wait for the sequel.
They should just
patch that in.
Right.
And so I haven't gotten any sense of whether they're going to do that. But I hope it's a game they pay attention to because tweaks like that would make it.
I'm so
even
curious how
better.
it's going to do as like a holiday gift thing. It feels
it's perfect
It
for
feels
that.
perfect
Yeah,
for it.
totally.
So
Kinda
But you
suck-
don't want to end up in the Peloton ad situation.
you do not.
No, you
do
don't.
not.
Like I'm gonna buy myself Ring Fit.
Yeah, definitely.
I would feel weird if MK were like, "Hey, baby, I heard Patrick was really enjoying his fitness journey with Ring Fit, so I got you Ring Fit."
God, the year later, you're showing her the video of you playing Ring Fit, your Instagram story of your Ring Fit adventure. Love it.
While She's So High plays in the background.
Yeah. Fucking.
Also a
unbelievable.
bummer that it can't work with the Switch Lite, which makes sense because you're using the Joy-Cons to track all the stuff. But yeah, because it can be kind of a pain to set up. But
Anything else before we close off our game of the year? Big picture. Do we all feel closer to what our lists are?
I feel like there's more I need to play.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yep.
oh no. I was like, all right, so I came into this room this morning and I was
Yeah.
like, there's like 4 games I gotta play before I lock this list in. Now there's like 8.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I also need to do like the annual. hey, can people recommend small games that I would have like maybe not played because I was focused on capital C content all year?
Yeah.
That like
Right.
if I set aside an afternoon, I could play a bunch of really small things. This microphone just fell.
Oh,
off.
it fell off. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a sign.
Should I
That's
just
the
hold?
sign.
Can we get to the end?
Yeah,
Do
we can get
have
to the end like this.
I can also just do this while you talk.
No, I'll
No,
I'll just hold it.
you hold it.
Stop it, Kato. Kato, you're Kato.
Kato.
Kato, just leave it alone. You're fine.
We're just gonna let it hang.
This is like 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. In fact, less than that. Thank you for listening to us today. There's a whole range of other end of year, end of decade content, both on the
Before this and after this.
Rob is investigating what happened here.
It's the screw.
It's the screw. The screw got
I was
unscrewed.
sitting playing with it the whole time, and I must have just moved it back and forth.
Before and or after this, probably both.
Before and after, what I imagine.
Yeah,
So I think
imagine
I think we talked about the last one being waypoints of the decade.
Yeah, or waypoints
So
of
at
the
least something
decade.
is after this.
Yeah, so at least something is after this. Whether this kicks it off
Newsroom.
or if this is, we'll talk about we will talk about newsroom. Waypoint of the decade for not necessarily complimentary reasons.
I'm just saying it is an important show.
I
It was
understand.
important
Yeah,
When
It's
to
not
Robin,
the
not
same.
when
understood at
Robin
the time.
opened that, I was like, well, what's coming next?
No, but I get it. Yeah, 100%.
No, he was right. He was
talking
right.
about our waypoints of the decade, which will be fun. Yeah, if you missed it, we've had spoiler casts for Death Stranding, for Fire Emblem.
Will McAvoy would fucking love Peter Buttigieg.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Are you kidding me? Oh, absolutely. Ugh.
Just a smart lad from a plain state.
Yep. God. We will talk in the future about Newsroom. And then yeah, a bunch of other stuff. Again, spoiler cast for Fire Emblem, for Death Stranding. What else we got?
Was it like
Dark Souls
I
retrospective.
finally forced. He had to leave the site in order to get it to happen. I'm gonna get Austin
I
to
got
talk
notes.
about
I'm
Dark
ready to
Souls
go.
too. Yeah,
I like
it's basically a Souls retrospective.
Yeah, it's been a
thinking
decade of
about
Souls.
and think about the future of that sort of subgenre and From Software as
Exactly.
a studio and.
some other stuff. So look forward to all that. Or if you've already listened to it, thanks for listening. As
Yeah.
always, you can find us on Twitter, twitter.com/waypoint. I'm at Austin_Walker.
At Patrick Lubbock.
At @A_Kato_appears.
At Rob Zachney.
As always, twitter.com/waypoint, waypoint.advice.com. Thank you to, I think we'll probably do holiday music again this year for this.
Oh yeah.
We have that stuff in a file somewhere. Let's do that again. That's fun.
Snow Halation?
Oh God, if we could use Snow
Oh,
Halation without getting sued, believe me, I would do it. You know I
in the
would.
ska version.
Maybe one of our friends just does like a key shift.
Just slides it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Regardless, if you are having holidays, if you're doing holiday stuff, I hope the holidays go well. If you're traveling, travel safe. If there is bad winter weather because you're in the northern hemisphere, I hope that it is okay and you stay warm. Otherwise, regardless, this holiday season, fuck capitalism, go home, and happy holidays.
Go to the mall.
Go to the mall.
But don't you dare shop.
Just fucking kick around. Just
Yeah.
kind of walk in loops.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you critique capitalism,
and yet,
but you hang out in this mall.
and smoke clove cigarettes.
Yeah. God unfriended me. A Her Story horror tale.
That'd be fantastic.